behave. Is that what you're saying?
There we go. Hi, everybody.
Go a little bit wider on the camera angle. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Somebody call hotel security. I don't know who this guy is sitting in my bed. Please help me, please. Oh, no. This is actually somebody that I met, 2 hours ago?
Yeah, in the lobby.
In the lobby, coming in Jersey City, flying into Newark today. And his name is Frank, and he flies for Acme Crane, a European...
airline in Europe, yeah.
Yes, a European airline. A350. So fancy pantsy.
Oh, yeah. Lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Nice,
so
smooth,
I invited him to come up
expensive.
and check out. He wanted to kind of see the setup, and I said, "Well, come on up if you can manage it with your sleep schedule." And we're waiting for housekeeping to bring in another chair, so he doesn't have to sit way over there.
You see, you're doing it wrong, because if you want a housekeeping to show up, you'd have to turn all the lights, get into bed, and pretend you have to go to sleep and wake up in 2 hours.
I
Then show up.
Hall Boxes
point.
thinks he knows Frank.
Really?
Oh,
From where?
Frank Hansa? No, that's not your last name.
No.
Oh, no. He's making a joke on Crane. Got it. Got it.
Hansa.
Frank Hansa.
Gotcha.
Got it.
Yes.
We're dumb. Yes, that's correct. Frank Hansa.
So, does he
So
really
Frank
think he
has-
knows him personally? No.
No.
Probably not. What?
No.
Okay.
Frank has
Okay,
to
I
fly
just-
back home tonight. So
Yes, he's
was
flying
only gonna
back
be
home.
with us
Why
for-
would a sophisticated A350 pilot flying for a fantastic airline know some trash hauler?
Wow.
Rick?
Well, we have a trash hauler department ourselves, and quite a few.
Wow. Nick is just being quite a...
I know, he's very spicy tonight. Very spicy.
I'm a bit overtired. You'll have to forgive me.
I don't know. This is going to be an
A bit
interesting
emotional.
show. Yeah.
Jeff, did you want to look at my tracks on Clean Feed before we get going?
Can I come
Oh,
see
yeah,
your
let me see your
tracks?
tracks, baby.
Yeah, right. Look at my arm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, hang on.
Okay. Now, this is what we'll be hearing when we're doing the show.
Like nothing.
I don't... Are you talking?
Who's talking?
Hang on. I'm not hearing you now. Oh, we just dropped. Liz has gone away. Okay, Liz is connecting. Okay. What happened? Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's not usually that I'm ignoring you. It's that it probably dropped the connection. Okay, so yeah, I hear you fine, and go ahead and talk a little bit more. Okay, yeah, that'll be recorded. Yeah, all good. Okay. Okay. Main man Micah, this is
I'm back.
welcome back. This is Frank from a big European carrier who is laying over here at the same hotel in Jersey City, flying in and out of Newark. And when I was checking in today, he looked over at me and he goes, "What do you say? Like, are you Captain Jeff, or are you airline pilot guy?"
I first saw you outside, and I just
Oh.
saw the big mustache. And I was thinking that could be the
Yeah,
airline pilot.
could
guy.
be. Yeah,
Then I saw the Acme uniform, and I thought, well, it has to be him.
yeah.
And then you went inside, and I asked you, hey, are you the airline pilot?
Ah, are you the airline pilot guy?
And your
And I said,
co-pilot,
yes.
Chris, I think it was.
He confessed.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah, Chris is.
He thought, oh my God, another one.
So it's funny because I've flown with Chris a few times, and early he said, yeah, the first time I knew that something was weird is like somebody poked their head in the cockpit and said something, "Oh, yeah, I love your podcast," or whatever. And he goes, "What? What did he say?" I said, "I'll explain it to you later." And then Chris is also when I did the meetup with David Lieb up in Providence last year, or it was like the year, maybe last year or year before. Anyway, so he went with us on that. It was just David Lieb and Chris and I. But he's used to all this, podcasting celebrity stuff, big air quotes.
Yeah.
Anyway, not really a celebrity at all.
We love you, Captain Jeff.
I know you do. Where can I find that? I thought I'd.
And good to see you too, Micah. And I shall pass those sentiments along.
Okay. I thought I found that. Oh, here we go.
We love you, Captain Jeff.
Not any of you all.
No.
Who do you love?
We love you, Captain Jeff.
Of course you do. And, well, do you love?
We love the Airline Pilot Guy show.
Okay, they love everybody else too. They love
There you
everyone.
go.
How much did Nick have to pay them to say that?
I don't know. A lot.
Knew it. Oh, your theremin's playing.
Yep, the theremin. So what as I said, we're not waiting for Dr. Steph. She's not going to be with us today. We are in a few minutes, I think. Nick
He said
Camacho.
he's hoping in a few minutes, so he's
Okay.
coming, but we don't know
Good.
when.
Okay, so Nick Camacho is coming eventually,
I
and then
I just thought it was the way his trousers hung.
how much has he been drinking?
I don't know. Is that vodka or is that water?
What are you
What?
What are you drinking?
Is that water or is
water.
that there's a
I'm
moonshine?
dehydrated. That's what it is. Spent all day in the sun.
All right. Oh, he's got sunstroke.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Got some kind of stroke.
I knew you were going to go there. Hi, IL.
Chair is really good in here, huh?
Yeah. Darn. You know what I could do? I wonder if
Rearrange the whole room.
Oh, he
Yeah,
does
well,
that
good
often.
idea. I'm going to
I-
make
I did
myself a
actually
gin and tonic.
I actually do that every.
All
Oh,
right.
good. More alcohol.
somebody at the
That's all
door?
we need.
I'll check.
I don't know. Can't tell. No. Is that what is that out there? Is that a bench?
A bench.
With a lamp on it, it will be difficult to.
Oh, what? Okay.
Is there some sort of handy thing here?
What about your nightstand? Can he sit on your nightstand?
I call it.
Well, he's going to call again.
Okay.
I call it.
He's going to raise hell with
Yeah,
management.
good.
I'm gonna speak German.
Tell him to yell at them in German, in Dutch, in Dutch.
He's going to yell at them in Dutch
There
or
you go.
German or both.
Give them double Dutch.
Please pull up a chair in room 704, please.
What a small world, though, eh? That he just happened to be
Yeah.
standing there and you were there.
All right. Thanks so much. Cheers.
What do they say?
Housekeeping knows he's trying to locate a chair, but
Oh, okay.
it's not that easy here.
Yeah.
Until-
Yeah,
Well, I was going to
yeah.
say, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
Let me. Hang on, I'm going to take these out of my ears so I can't hear what they're saying.
Oh, good. We can talk about him now.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I can
Yeah.
see if my FO next door is there,
Oh,
and if he's not using his chair, maybe we can borrow it.
Yeah. It's like, you mind having dinner on the floor while we
yeah,
come
yeah,
near your
exactly.
chair? Yeah, sure,
he
Jeff.
gonna
No
say?
problem.
Yeah.
If you want tomorrow's landing, you'll lend me your chair.
Yeah, exactly. Use all the leverage you've got there, Jeff.
Exactly.
Hopefully, I'm not waking him up.
So were you able to sleep at all on your flight back over the Pacific, Rick, or no?
I slept some, a little bit.
Yeah, a little? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris.
Hey,
Hey,
it was,
did I wake you up?
but like I said, it's man.
Woke
Okay.
him up.
Yeah.
All right, you're sitting
Yeah.
here. Are you sitting in your chair? I was going to see if I can borrow your
You know,
chair.
sitting too long, Chris, is bad for you.
Yeah. You sure? You don't mind? All right, I'll be right there.
Are you sure? What's he going to say? That was pretty good out of the box thinking, though, there, Jeff.
That was that's,
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed.
I am. That was good.
Hi, Neil. Hi, Nico. So for you guys just joining us, we have a guest with Jeff who can only stay a few minutes. He flies the A350 for a large European airline, Acme Crane, and he's just going to come into the shot shortly, I think.
There
There he is, Frank.
Oh, so he was literally next door. Okay.
They have a joining. They have one of those doors that joins the
Yeah.
rooms, Rick. Yeah.
Exactly.
then we'll frame this. It is
There we
getting a
are.
little warm in here. But I can always turn it on, and maybe it doesn't.
Nick
make-
needs some alcohol. That's where he's gone.
Oh boy. Oh, I see Camacho Man there.
Oh,
Oh, excellent.
oh yeah, there he is. Excellent.
There he is.
Oh yeah.
All right. Hey, Nick.
There he is.
Hey, Nixie.
We don't hear you, although. Are we supposed to be hearing you? Hello, Nick.
Anyone?
No.
Nick Camacho. Come in, Nick Camacho. Come in.
Nothing yet?
Dang, it looks like I'm in a dungeon here.
Yeah.
That's all right. It highlights your features.
Very dramatic lighting.
I know.
Although he's frozen now.
It's kind of frozen now. Must be
Yeah.
cold in Wichita.
Okay,
There
now
it
he's
is.
moving.
And light is a little better. There we are.
Now it's
Now it's
now the
perfect
chair's
time.
coming from housekeeping.
Of course. Of course.
Well, in case another guest drops in, can't have too many chairs.
Yeah, we're good. Thanks.
Yeah, he took
I guess he didn't have a chair with him, so I guess it is actually difficult to find a chair here.
Not that easy. Not that easy.
Yeah.
What kind of flea-bag hotel is he in?
It's in
It's a nice
Jersey.
hotel. It's not a flea bag. It's a Westin. It's really nice. I would
They
say.
don't have any chairs.
No
but-
extra
but-
chairs?
Apparently, they don't have a lot of chairs.
So Jeff,
People like
move
to
your.
stand here. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
You're going to reframe. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Thank you.
There's
There we
Frank.
are.
There he
Yeah,
is.
back again.
All right. And
So,
there we
yeah.
go. And you can hear everything
Yeah.
okay. Again,
Yeah.
if you
Well,
need
okay.
me to adjust it,
It's good. It's good.
okay. Hey, Nick Camacho.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
You can hear us?
Yeah, I can. I am on Airbnb Wi-Fi, which apparently didn't go well that first go around.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
it's better now, but
Yeah.
you know.
Okay. Well, we'll just
I also
deal with
I
it.
also look like I'm in a dungeon. I realize I'm trying to figure out how to deal with that right now.
are you out in slow?
You're fine. Actually, I'm more concerned about your the closeness to your microphone, because it's you're kind of soft in volume compared to everybody
again?
else.
Can you lean in a bit?
Lean in, dude.
What if I do this? If I turn this
Let's see.
like that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds better.
Better or worse?
better.
It's good. Yeah, better.
Better.
More better.
And then when you're saying something, just like, "Hi," you like just yell.
Ow.
Sorry. Should have warned you.
Yeah.
My bad. Okay. Let me start the recording here. And okay, yeah, we understand, Nick.
Is your
sorry.
recorder on, Nick? Nick Anderson?
Oh, well, why? Are we going to start in the next half an hour?
I believe there's hope. Well,
It's
got-
only
all
been
right.
15 minutes since we started the stream,
where
Nick.
did Nick Camacho go?
I got mine going.
Oh, you sound so hurt, Jeff. I must stop. I apologize.
I agree.
Yes, my recorder is going.
And
What
Rick,
happened to Nick?
you're almost like leaning in too much, over modulating a little bit.
Who, me?
No.
No,
Rick.
me.
Rick,
That good?
Rick,
Okay.
Miami
better?
Rick. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay. But then when you're starting to talk, sometimes you'll start leaning back, so then you need to turn it up.
Oh, Lord.
Is there anything else you want to
Right.
criticize?
It's not criticism, actually. It's more
No,
like,
it's constructive
direction.
criticism.
It's direction.
Direction,
Yeah.
right.
Audio direction.
Audio direction.
And this is normal for you guys. When you do a recording, it's like 30 minutes of this.
Yeah,
Before
pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And so when you, Frank, are speaking, you'll probably have to lean in as well.
Okay. No problem.
Okay.
So can we start soon so we can have Frank on the show before he has to fly away?
Yes, we can do that. All right. Where is this? Let me go.
There, I'm
this.
going mute.
All right. And I'll get
What
my
happened to
little-
Nick C? Did he bugger off?
I think that the Airbnb is going to be a little nick and tuck.
Iffy.
Okay,
whatever.
fair enough.
Nick and Tuck?
Yeah, or Nick and Rick. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's going to be I don't know what's the term that we
Bit dodgy.
use? A little
Iffy.
bit dodgy, iffy. Yeah, like our show. So we'll just take him when we can get him, I guess, and that's
Right.
what she said.
That's what she said.
Okay. Yes. All right. So are y'all ready?
Ready?
You bet.
Okay. I have my recorder on.
Yeehaw,
and-
let's go.
And even if you guys don't have the recorders on, StreamYard is recording everybody's individual.
Hope
thing
he's back.
right now. All right. Good to have him back. I guess that deserves a.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay.
You ready, everybody? Yeah.
Real quick, Jeff. I don't think the internet here is going to work, so I put it on my phone. If it's still bad enough, just shoot me a text and tell me to get lost, and I'll hop off so I don't.
Why don't I just
Sneak up the shoal
just
here.
preemptively just say no? I'm just kidding. Yeah,
Oh,
it
perfect.
No,
sound
it,
really-
actually, it
no,
looks good right now.
It looks great and it sounds good.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and by the way, I'm on a T-Mobile hotspot myself. I am.
Nice.
Could I lean in a little? Yes, I could lean in a little bit. We're sharing a microphone here, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG, it's the Airline Pilot Guy. Airline Pilot Guy episode 528. Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 4C at the Westin in Jersey City, New Jersey. Today's show is recorded on the 7th of July, 2022. Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Picture light and it's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy. In today's episode, a United flight lands on the wrong runway in Pittsburgh. A blown tire damages the body of an Emirates Airbus. More news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 528 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins in which is just like right over the river. I'm on the Hudson River right now at a Westin, as he just mentioned. And in a moment, I'll introduce somebody else that's with me here as well. But you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia. And joining me today from his home studio in the Valley of the Sun, world traveler, airplane mechanic, doggy rescue volunteer, fitness hound, and international air freight captain, it's Miami Rick.
Hey, everybody. It's been a little while, but I'm happy to be back. We have some great topics, great people, and it's going to be another good one.
Excellent. Glad that you could make it this week, Miami Rick, and also joining us from his studio
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
Professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways, it's Captain Nick.
Guten Tag, meine Luftkissenfahrzeug ist voll mit Allen.
Yeah, I'll say you're doing some fart sig. And all right, and
Yep.
also joining us from his home studio in the air capital. Low and slow pilot, old airplane enthusiast, and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry, Nick Camacho, although I think that he's actually not in his home studio in the air capital. Tell us where you're from, Nick.
Well, I'm from Wichita.
Okay, where are you now?
Yeah, we're down in Holliston, Missouri, which is near Branson. We have my wife's family lake trip, annual lake trip. So we're down here at Table Rock Lake.
Ooh, Ozark
Have some fun in the
country.
water.
Oh,
exactly.
be careful. You don't want to get in trouble for doing this kind of thing when you're on vacation. So I understand if you have to leave soon. Also joining me, sitting right next to me, it is First Officer Frank from Acme Crane, a large European airline who happens to be at the same hotel that I'm staying in Jersey City. And we'll talk to him here in a moment. But before we do that, let's go ahead and introduce our producer-director from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, a place where you can stand and grow. Retired financier, aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer-director, it's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. Welcome, Frank.
Yeah, hi, welcome.
All right. So, as I said,
Yeah.
just here in Jersey City, just came in a couple of hours ago. As we were getting out of our hotel van, he was looking through the window. He had just gone to get some...
I was eating,
yeah.
Going back to the hotel. I saw a guy with a white mustache. I thought, well, that could be Captain Jeff, but I don't know. So I went to him, saw his Acme uniform, and asked, well, are you the airline pilot guy? And, well...
I get that all the time. And, so I was introduced to... He introduced himself, flies for that European carrier on layover here. And in just a little bit, in fact, he's not going to be able to stay with us very long because he's got to get everything together for his flight that he's leaving on tonight, heading back to a Bavarian city.
Bavarian city.
Yeah.
In the southern part of
Southern
Germany.
part of some kind of, Germany, I guess. Yeah. All right. Excellent. So very nice to meet you, and I'm glad that you
and
asked
it's very
if I was
nice
the airline
that I
pilot
could be
guy.
here to see this. I'm like a big fan of the show. Like episode 150 was the first one.
Look at that.
And
150.
Yeah, 150.
Long time listener.
But I have to make a confession.
Yeah.
I have a backlog.
Oh.
10 episodes, 10 shows.
Well,
already.
I mean, I have a backlog too, but backlog. I'm sorry. Yeah, a little embarrassing. Sorry.
Fiber, Jeff. Fiber.
Fiber really helps with that. But you know what? Everybody has a backlog of episodes, and you know what? You really don't have to go back and listen to them all. Just like stay with the current one and just go forward, right? But we do have people that have the syndrome that just can't help themselves.
True.
And they just insist on listening to all the shows, and bless their hearts, I guess. Anyway, so what kind of airplane do you fly, Frank?
At the moment, I'm flying the A350. I was flying the A340, but during COVID, that went away from the airline. Now I'm just flying the 350 with a slight chance to fly the A380 later this year, perhaps.
Ooh.
It's not really known what's going to happen, but there's a slight possibility.
Excellent. So would you say that the A350 is about 10 better than the A340?
About 50.
Oh, 50 better. Okay. Well, then why is it not the A390? That's what I'd like to know. Anyway, some bad humor, but that's what I'm known for.
Yes,
my deep
I'm noticing.
So Liz is being really sweet to me again and complimenting my finely honed interviewing skills. Yeah. Thank you, Liz. Anyway, so what do you think? Should we, anything else to say about you and your career and
A short bio. I started flying for the airlines in 2000. Started with a Canadair, the climb regional jet, or the climb restricted jet. Did that for 7 years. Then went to another airline, flew the A320 family like 10 years. And then I had the possibility to go to the 747 or the A340-600. And because I was already listening to this show, it was an easy choice. because I did not go to the jumbo. I just followed Nick's advice and went straight to the A340.
Great advice.
Well, let me tell you,
I
you
do
missed
not
out, my
regret
friend.
it.
You missed out.
Well, I had the opportunity to sit in the cockpit of a 747 just to try it out. And I sat in the right seat, and my shoulder was touching the window. There was a huge brown thing between my legs.
Wait, this is a
Family show. Sorry. Family show.
Family show.
And I thought, no, sorry. Nah. So
I love it. That's very fair. That's extremely fair, Frank.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, looking back on it, you love that 600. It was a fine aeroplane.
the 340-600 was lovely. The 340-300 was a bit, slow.
Well, it was a bit of a dog,
Yeah,
but we'll forgive them
a
that,
bit?
I think.
And the good thing is I still have my hearing, because everybody I know that flies the 747, they really have a hearing problem. It's loud. But Rick knows that.
Well,
yeah.
for the 727, and I really don't have any idea what you're saying right now.
What?
Lost my hearing. Yeah, what? Huh? Yeah.
No, it's sitting up on the 7.4. It's interesting. That side picture is a little different than what most people are used to, and it's really tricky. And I've talked about this before, where you the taxiing could really get away from you because you're so high up off the ground that you really have to rely on your ground speed to make those turns and not skid all over the place. So, but yeah, missed out.
Yeah, he did. In fact, he's so upset about it, he just left.
Yeah, he just left. He was like, I should have taken the
He's
chance. when I
crying.
had
Oh
it.
wait, he's
he's
collected
back.
himself now.
Okay.
Did you get some Kleenex to help wipe the tears? Up?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It was chair number 3 now. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're there. We have an overabundance of chairs now being delivered to my room, and it must have been your stern tone with
Yes.
front
I
desk.
spoke German the second time.
Boy.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, so Johnny Johnson has a question. Any paint issues with their A350s like Cutter is having?
I've not seen any issues. Doing the walk around, everything looks good.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good. Interesting.
To know. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
what do you think about starting with covering a couple news items before you head out?
Why not? Go
Okay,
for it.
let's do it. So, without further ado, here we go. Time for news.
Stand by for news.
Okay, our first news item is this from the Aviation Herald. An Emirates Airbus A3, speaking of Airbuses and A380-800 registration Alpha 6 Echo Victor Kilo performing flight 430 from Dubai, United Arab Emirates to Brisbane, Australia, Queensland, departed Dubai's runway 30 left, climbed to initially flight level 310 and up to flight level 390. On approach to Brisbane, the crew advised ATC that they were suspecting that they blew a tire on takeoff and requested emergency services on standby. The aircraft landed on Brisbane's runway 19 right about 13.5 hours after departure and was towed to the apron. A large hole in the left-hand wing root fairing was observed, followed by discovery of penetration at the underside of the fuselage. The aircraft was unable to depart for its return flight and is still on the ground in Brisbane about 17 hours after landing, at least when this was written. According to gossip, do we do gossip here?
Yes.
Darn right
yes,
we do.
Of course we do.
Yes, Simon does for sure. According to gossip inside the airline, the damage occurred during takeoff from Dubai. A Brisbane airport employee reported in a local interview that the crew advised that they suspected a blown tire on takeoff. Emergency services were on standby for the landing. And then it goes on to talk about a missing bolt and cap at the nose gear. I'm not sure what that has to do with the incident regarding the tire explosion. But anyway, I think we have a little bit more information on this Twitter post. Nope, not there. Anyway, I think I read somewhere that at some point in the climb, somebody, one of the flight attendants, heard a very loud explosion back around where the main landing gear is, and reported it to the crew. And I guess they got some kind of an indication in the cockpit. I guess you would get some kind of indication.
that was going to be my question. If I imagine the 380 has some kind of TPMS or a tire pressure monitoring system that feeds into the ECAM somewhere. I imagine that they do, because even some of the old 7.6s I fly around, they have that. And that would be your first indication there. I also want to say that great handling of this situation by the crew, because if you have a right after takeoff, probably not max takeoff weight, but very close to, coming back around with some kind of tire issue, you have one less tire, one less brake to count on, all that stuff, and then on top of that, you have a plane load of passengers that are just paid good money to go from A to B. You don't want to have to bring them back around and land over something that can be handled on the other end of the trip. And so, and the number 3, the hole that was found in the fuselage on top of the hole that was obviously in the fairing, really not that big a deal as long as the pressurization system is able to compensate and maintain that delta P. Yes, delta P. Shouldn't be an issue. Oh, I guess the outflow valve or outflow valves, all they have to do really is to pick up the slack and keep the aircraft pressurized. So
I'm pretty sure that's an unpressurized portion of the aircraft.
I think so too. Yeah.
No,
the fairing is. The
Yeah.
fairing
Yeah.
is, but I did read here that the fuselage was also penetrated.
Oh, okay. Didn't know
Oh, was it?
about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't see that either. Did you? What was that term you used, Rick?
Oh, you mean delta P?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
That's
I
the
wasn't
one.
quite ready for that. You had to warn
It
me.
does say that the fuselage was penetrated by debris, but I think they're referring to the hole that came out through that belly fairing. Rick.
Okay, not the actual pressure vessel itself.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. No, 'cause-
Yeah. So, what do you think about that decision? Flying 19 hours. As I don't know, I guess the A380 has fuel jettisoning capability. So you could have dumped a whole heck of a lot of fuel into the environment and landed back at Dubai, or continuing, the entire route and burning the fuel and getting the passengers to where they wanted to go. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Frank, regarding that?
It's of course interesting. You can do both things. Normally, I would not choose to fly the distance if I am at my home base with maintenance, with other connections that the passengers can take. I would probably stay in Dubai, but I wasn't there, so I cannot say for sure. But say if they did not know, if they did not have any indication.
But you must know that on this show,
Yeah.
we speculate,
Yeah, of
and
course.
pretty much everything that we say is the right way to do it, right?
Yeah,
No,
of course, of
that's
course. But when I see that hole, it
Yeah.
must cause some drag, so you would
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a higher fuel flow. I don't know if a 18-hour flight would have enough
Ridiculous.
fuel then, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, Captain Nick? Captain O'Captain?
I think it was quite a reasonable decision. I'm assuming that you can actually see that hole from the passenger windows. I wonder if any of the passengers spotted it and let the crew know, because if you peer down through the passenger windows, you could probably see the hole, and they could make an assessment themselves as to whether they thought it was okay to continue. I have to say, if I'd seen a hole that large in my aircraft, I would have had a good old think about it and chatted to the engineers back at my base, and also to operations, and then got the chief pilot to authorize me to fly all the way to Brisbane before I continued on.
To reduce as much liability as possible.
Absolutely. Well, you just need to spread all that irresponsibility around a bit, so it's just not you carrying the can. But yeah, I'm not too worried about that, because as we all know, it's just a streamlined covering of the undercarriage bays, really, and it doesn't perform structural integrity. That particular part of the airframe, it's fine if it is a little damaged, but Yeah, I think that's a reasonable decision. And of course, the proof of the pudding is they got everyone safely to Brisbane. Yeah. And if they'd crashed halfway there, then perhaps we'd have a different
would have been a bad decision.
Exactly.
Yeah,
would have been bad. But you know what?
Exactly.
To be fair, we do know of a case, and I personally know the person that was involved, of a 777 that took off from Miami and from an intersection and took out the approach lighting for runway 27 and flew all the way to Doha like that. And so it in that case they didn't know that they had taken out the approach lighting system, although I gather they didn't need a change of underwear at top of climb. And so that might have been an indication, but it does happen. It can happen, and they did come out the other end without a problem, But I agree with Nick wholeheartedly. Especially one of the most important things about your command is never being the one that carries all the responsibility on your back. Obviously, just try to spread that around and get as many points of view and as you possibly can. You do have certainly all the tools available to you. You have SATCOM, you have ACARS, you have all sorts of ways to communicate with the ground maintenance, engineering, and the chief pilot and all that. And so that you're not the one making the call. You spread that around.
Yeah,
but in the end, you are responsible.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. No, quite right. You do take the ultimate responsibility, and that's why we all get paid the big bucks. But if you can say in your defense that you sought expert opinion from all these different people and that everyone was in agreement, then I think it lessens your concern. And people will say, wouldn't you be a bit stressed about flying airplane all that way? No, the damage is done. It's all over, really. Bar the landing, which you're going to have to do somewhere. So why not do it at your destination rather than, as has been suggested, having dumped hundreds of tons of fuel and, get the passengers nowhere. So.
And still be on the overweight side of things, because
exactly.
Mine is a tire and a brake.
Frank brought up flying away from your home base. I think that was kind of the first thing I thought of too, was just the impacts of possibly having to do a major repair to the airplane that happened at your home base versus going to an outlying base. But I assume anywhere they're flying a 380 is going to be a huge airport with plenty of maintenance. Is that the case?
Yeah, and of course that's the point of liaising with your engineering base and saying, if I take this to Brisbane, can we get it fixed? Or do I need to stay here in the Middle East? So if they say no problem, we've got a couple of spare tires there and we can fly one within 24 hours if necessary, so you carry on. So that's the thing. If you've made sure that you've got the facilities wherever you're headed, then it's probably fine to carry on.
My only concern would be in this case, if that fairing would probably break up because it's structurally not intact anymore. If we fly 8.4, Mach 8.5, something like that with the 380, if it breaks and it goes into your stabilizer, you've got another problem.
You do? Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I find the hole a bit big, actually. If airflow goes in there and
perhaps it started a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. We have some breaking news. Somebody, our audience member, Tony Smith, he said, I had a tire blow out on my way from Corfu Airport to my holiday cottage last week. That didn't make the news, though. Oh. But it did here. Oh. It made the news here on the APG.
Absolutely.
Glad that you're okay and it wasn't a
Corfu, beautiful place, too.
Yeah, no crashing. All right. Anything else to say, you think?
I would say I will be leaving now because my
flight
is going in a few hours.
Yeah, you need to get ready
in my Superman uniform and do my stuff. Yeah,
do your meditation.
Yes,
to really get psyched up. And I think you said you were getting some kind of a line check as well.
It's my annual line check.
Okay.
Yes, I was the pilot flying on the way to Newark. Now I'm the pilot monitoring. Just have to do a bit of ATC calls.
Yeah. You've done the hard work, Frank.
Yeah, the hard work is done. Now I just have to fly out of the States. And when I'm in Canada, I can say CPDLC, and I don't have to talk anymore.
Done.
Good for you. Brilliant.
I like it.
Yeah.
Frank, so nice to meet you.
Jeff,
Really, thank
it was
you
a
for,
pleasure. Thank you for
Yeah.
showing me this.
Absolutely.
And,
It was nice
I
having
really
a guest
enjoyed
host
it.
like you
All
on the
right.
show. Great.
Then, thanks and bye-bye, everybody.
Take care,
Cheers.
Frank.
Bye,
Stay
Frank.
flight.
All right.
Thank you.
Again, sure. Yeah, make
And,
sure you have everything.
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
And the chair, I'll leave it just here.
Yeah,
Just-
I'll get it back to my.
So if you
first
leave
officer.
something valuable, that's the last time you'll ever see it.
You can
take
check
care, Frank.
eBay. It might
Have a
be
good flight.
there.
You can buy it back off eBay. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to switch headsets. All right.
There we
There
are.
we go.
Very nice.
Well, they're
Yeah,
nice
that
and
was
warm.
great.
That was great. Yeah, I like it.
I was kind of thinking you might string him along there for half an hour, Jeff. To kind
Well, I was hoping that he'd stay a little bit longer, but I
Until
guess
he
he has
was
things to do.
late.
get back at the
Just
first
check out.
officer fraternity for what they did to you a couple of days ago.
Yeah. True. Okay. Very good. So that was very nice to have one of our longtime community members actually get to be involved in the show like that. That's a lot of fun for me, and I'm sure it was for him as well. Maybe. Perhaps not. Okay. Let's see. Let me find the Evernote thing here. Let's move on to the next item, which is also from the Aviation Herald, Simon Radke. United Boeing 737-9 MAX. Registration November 37513, performing flight 2627 from Chicago O'Hare to Pittsburgh with 168 passengers and 6 crew. Was cleared for a visual approach and was cleared to land on Pittsburgh's runway 28 center. However, lined up with runway 28 left and continued for a landing on runway 28 left. There were no injuries and no damage. Let's see. Upon initial contact with pit approach control, the flight crew was told to expect a visual approach to runway 32 into Pittsburgh. The flight crew briefed the new approach and proceeded to load the ILS 32 approach into the flight management computer to back up the visual approach. Okay, so far so good. While being radar vectored on the downwind and descending through about 4,000 feet, the flight crew indicated that they had a check landing altitude message displayed briefly on the FMC. After the message disappeared and with the autopilot engaged, the aircraft reverted to control wheel steering pitch mode. They selected level change, reselected the autopilot to command mode. Not sure why that's a factor here, but anyway, it's in the report. The airplane began its descent at about 9:18 in the morning, Eastern Daylight Time, and as they were descending, approach control asked them if they could accept a visual approach to runway 28 center. The weather was clear, and the winds were 250 degrees at 4 knots, so they accepted the runway change. The first officer then reprogrammed the FMC for the RNAV GPS Yankee 28 center to back up the visual approach. Again, bravo. That's what we should always do, have some kind of a backup underlying approach to confirm what we're seeing with our eyeballs on a visual. The flight crew established communication with the local controller when the airplane was approximately 6.5 miles east of the airport. They advised the controller they were on a visual approach to runway 28 center, to which the controller cleared them to land on 28 center. According to the captain, approximately 2 miles from Supper on an intercept heading, and while descending, the screen was black. Both FMCs blanked, except for the aircraft communications addressing reporting system, ACARS, prompt, and no FMC prompt. The captain used heading select and level change on the mode control panel. However, when the airplane joined an approximate 6-mile final, it was aligned with runway 28 left. When the airplane was, I'm just wondering to myself, why didn't they just turn everything off and hand fly it? But that's me. The flight crew requested verification of their clearance to land on runway 28 center. The controller advised the flight crew of mowing in progress in the grass area and cleared them to land on runway 28 center. The flight crew read back their clearance to land on 28 center. You're getting the gist here, right? 28 center, 28 center. About 9:44, the airplane landed on runway 28 left. Turned right off the runway, exited runway 28 left at taxiway Fox 5. The controller noticed the airplane was lined up for runway 28 left when it was on short final, but decided that it was more appropriate to allow the airplane to land given their altitude. The facility reported that the traffic volume was light with routine complexity. The distance from the airport traffic control tower to the runway 28 center threshold was approximately 7,500 feet. So there's the picture on the video there of all the runways at the Pittsburgh International Airport. 32 in the bottom right-hand corner at the diagonal runway was the one that they were originally setting up for, and then they asked if they could instead fly a visual approach to 28 Center, which in this case, these are all runways on the southern portion of the airport as far as southern in relation to the airport concourses and terminals. But there is a runway north of all that, and that is runway 28 right. And I'm thinking maybe they don't get into Pittsburgh very often, and they were confused a little bit about the runway layout and thinking the 28 Center must be the one, that they landed on, but not thinking about the one that quite a bit to the north, 28 right. And when you consider that that's the northernmost or the right runway, then they may have understood that 28 Center is the one that looks like it's on the right. And, from their advantage.
Like the only thing with 28 Center is that there'd be a runway to your left, right? If you were on 28 Center, and if you land up 28 left like they did, there's nothing to the left. So I don't.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So that's one thing. Then the other thing I can perhaps comment in this is that visual approaches are great when you back them up by an instrument approach procedure, which is what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
My personal philosophy is if there's an ILS, just take the ILS because you're not depending on FMC or aircraft generated lateral and vertical path guidance. And then the other thing here is as part of the arrival procedure, there's a briefing involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I personally do when there are changes presented to us, because obviously we operate in a very dynamic environment. It's what we do. It's what we get paid for, and it's what we plan for. But if you are not anticipating that particular change or that particular change of plans, I would just stick with what I had, because all of a sudden you have one guy flying, taking care of everything, and then the other guy's heads down trying to load in the procedure. Nobody briefed what the procedure is. Nobody briefed. I imagine they had landing numbers for that runway because, well, it looks like those runways are longer than 3.2. So I guess the landing analysis would apply. But then again, what put yourself in that position? Again, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. But just the worst thing you can do is put yourself in a position where you were rushed to get something done when you were already on a very stable path to a very stable outcome beforehand. And so I would have stayed on 3.2 personally.
Yeah, they're just trying to help out, and sometimes when you help out, it can throw you off and put you in peril.
Exactly. You end up getting burned. And so, but
Liz is making a good point. She said she thinks it's because it was a MAX. That's why this all happened. Yeah.
I was going to make a point there. That's all. I quite agree with Rick about the controller deciding for the crew that he wasn't going to tell them that they'd lined up for the wrong runway. Once you realize, because of course the crew are intimately aware of their landing distance and the figures they've calculated, and they might be using a brake setting that in this case they had no problem turning off. But just as a general rule, I would say, you shouldn't not inform the crew, because if it had been a shorter runway and the crew had calculated a brake setting that would take them to the end of the runway, for example, but I'm just saying that it's not ideal, because the controller doesn't know what's in the pilot's head when he says, I just won't tell him. It could come as a big shock when they suddenly realize that whatever they've set up to stop on the runway is not working properly now because they've landed on the wrong runway.
Yeah,
exactly.
In this case, maybe the best thing that the controller could have done at that point was to just tell them to go around.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing unsafe about a low go around. We're all trained for it, in fact. So, that would possibly be the safer option.
Keep in mind, you can go around even after touchdown. The break-off point there is the second you select reverse thrust, then you are staying on the ground. But even after touchdown, you can opt for a go around and just fly perfectly fine. So
yeah, as long as the spoilers haven't come out and the reversers and all that kind of stuff, then
I mean reversers that's a no go. But even the spoilers, when you bring the power the thrust levers forward, they should retract. Exactly.
Yeah, depending on the airplane, but most modern airplanes are like that, I think.
Now, not being a Boeing bloke, with when their FMCs hiccuped, would that possibly have taken away the FM guidance from their nav displays, which would have complicated the problem of identifying the runway?
It would have. Okay. So on these Maxes, and it's very similar to the LDS system we have on the new 76s and the 787s and 777s and all that. You have a setting called the IAN mode on the autopilot, and that stands for Integrated Approach Navigation. And it's kind of like selecting approach on the ILS on the mode control panel there for the autopilot to track the localizer and the glide slope down. It's the same. IAN tracks your lateral, I guess LNAV track, and your FMC generated glide path down. And so if the FMCs blank out, then all of a sudden you find yourself without lateral and vertical guidance, which is why I imagine the flying pilot reverted to head and select and flight level change, which is a little weird because Flight Crew Training Manual stipulates that flight level change shall not be used below 1,000 feet. I forget when exactly that was selected. But the issue with flight level change is that flight level change is a mode that basically brings the thrust levers back to idle, and now you're controlling the pitch of the aircraft with your speed. So the faster you go, the higher your pitch down. The slower you go, the lower your pitch down. Basically, the autopilot is going to be pitching looking for that new speed and changing the pitch accordingly, which is why it's more, I guess, appropriate in that late portion of the flight to use either vertical speed. Really all you do is you take your ground speed, drop the 0, divide by 2, and add a 0. That gives you what your descent rate should be for a 3-degree glide. And either that or newer autopilots, I believe the Max has this as well. You have what is called flight path angle. So you just switch it over to flight path angle and select a 3-degree glide path, and that should put you down to where you need to be.
My jet even has that.
There you go. So now mine doesn't.
It is a Boeing. It is a Boeing.
Well, yeah.
No,
that's
Boeing
why
717.
Kind of, and that's a good one. You got to figure out what the quick math to figure out what a 3-degree glide would be based on your ground speed. You have to be able to figure that out in your head quickly.
Anyway, bottom line is they should have been familiar enough with the layout of the airport runways to know that, which runway is which, because that's kind of an important thing for us, both for taking off and landing. And I'm sure that they had some splaining to do after this. They didn't hit the guys on the lawnmowers, that's sure. They did say they were on the in the grassy area, so I mean they were probably clear of the runways all the time.
I mean, if it hit those guys, that would have been a whole other host of problems.
Yeah, a lot more paperwork.
Yep.
So it said they joined on a 6-mile final on 28 left. At that point, did they still have enough time to fix that problem, or would that be a go round? Like, are they close enough to?
Well, 6-mile final is what, 1,800 feet, and you have to be stabilized by 1,000. So you have 800 feet, which, counting about an 800 feet a minute, gives you about a minute to do everything you need to do to be stable by 1,000. So I say no.
Pretty tight.
Yeah, and that's why I say, late changes like these are the ones that get you in trouble. So you're the one operating the aircraft. You're like, can you take 28 center? We could, but no. And it happens to me all the time. Like the ATC will come along and ask me if I can do something, and I've already planned and briefed for something else, and I just say no. Sorry.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with your familiarity with the airport. If you've flown in and out there a lot, your experience level with the airplane. For me, in this scenario, that wouldn't have been a big deal at all. And probably, 99 times out of 100, it's not a problem. This one out of 100, the dude's lined up on the wrong runway, and both crew members let it happen. It shouldn't have happened. And air traffic control, but he did notice. He claims he noticed when they were on very short final. But Anyway, some human error there for sure. But after all, take everything that I say with a grain of salt, because I'm an old school cowboy. So, there's that. Yeah, and if it's someplace I'm going into that I don't get into very often, then everything is a little bit different. But if this is Atlanta, for instance, and we're coming in, and this has happened to me several times going into Atlanta, something happens ahead of me on 8 left, and they said, "Do you have 8 right in sight? Nobody's there for lining up for takeoff." And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Can you accept the sidestep to 8 right?" And I said, "Absolutely." I've done this many, many, many times in my 30 plus years of flying in and out of Atlanta. But, going to a place that I'm not used to going into, then I may, make a different decision. Okay, Liz is making the point that on my last flight, I should not accept that because the water cannon trucks will be, although they're usually off, in the ramp area, not on the runways themselves. Although that would be really cool to have the fire trucks actually shooting the water over the runway as I'm in the flare. I like that. Good.
There you
point, Liz. Okay, good. Yeah, but you know what? My retirement flight's probably going to be a lot like Nick's. I don't really realize it at the time that it's my last flight. But anyway, we can go into that later. I still have a year and a half to mull all this over. Let's proceed with the next news item. Yeah, here we go. Liz claims it's a good one, so let's find out, see if she's right. A TAP Air Portugal Airbus A330-900, registration Charlie Sierra Tango Uniform Lima, performing flight 288 from Luanda, Angola.
Hey, Nick's favorite place.
No, his favorite place is Nigeria, I think. Or maybe Luanda, Angola.
I've never been to Luanda.
Oh, you haven't been
to them, but never landed there.
To Lisbon, Portugal, with 148 passengers, 10 crew. Taxi to Luanda's runway 23 for takeoff from intersection Echo because works on the runway were in progress. The aircraft was accelerating for takeoff from Luanda's runway 23 when the captain observed the runway end coming nearer too early as the aircraft accelerated through 147 knots indicated airspeed. And then they reached the crown of the runway and realized that there was a lot more runway. No, just kidding. That was a different story. Applied full thrust, permitting the aircraft to rotate at the runway end. Oh, no kidding. It actually got to the runway end. The aircraft became airborne at 163 knots indicated, just at the runway end, about 7 seconds after full thrust was applied. Flight attendants reported to the flight crew that dust was seen outside of the aircraft during rotation.
Ooh, that's normal.
Yeah. Well, maybe it is at Luanda. I don't know. That observation was confirmed by Tower. The crew continued the flight to Lisbon for a landing without further incident about 7.5 hours after departure. They had a lot of time to think about this one.
Yep.
There were no injuries and no damage to the aircraft. Portugal's GPIAA reported the aircraft took off with a gross mass of 191,394 kilograms at 163 knots indicated, exactly at the end of the runway 7 seconds after full thrust had been applied. The crew had, without identifying that they had not selected intersection Echo for their takeoff computations, computed the takeoff performance for a full-length takeoff. Takeoff from intersection Echo leaves takeoff distance available of 2140 meters, and takeoff
runway
what is that? Runway available of 1900 meters.
Available.
Yeah, the math's not working here. 2140 is what they need, and the available runway is 1900. The full length of the runway is 3700 meters. That's what the data was based upon. The aircraft thus performed a flex takeoff at 85% N1. The investigation is ongoing. This is not the first time that we've talked about performance calculation errors and near catastrophes on our show.
Yeah.
So, Captain Nick, you have experience with the A330, and I'd like to hear your analysis of this F-up.
Yeah, exactly. So, if there's no particularly good reason why they should have made a mess of the calculations, because if you get a runway change during taxi out and you've got to do the calculations on the fly as you're trying to maneuver the aircraft across the airport, that might be a mitigation, but they've no mention of that. So this should have been a bog standard set of calculations, and everyone should double check. And in fact, the way we used to run it was when we had our EFBs all sorted, we would do completely independent calculations without any reference to each other, and then we'd come together and check the numbers to make sure that we agreed. And the chances of you both making the same error are pretty remote. So this really should not happen. However, to err is human, and it looks like that they either did a shortcut, didn't perhaps do their procedures exactly correctly, and managed to introduce an error that could have been a very serious problem for them. Luckily, it wasn't. But we have seen too many of these, and it comes down to discipline on the flight deck, as far as I'm concerned anyway. Discipline on the flight deck and following the correct procedures. Even if you've done them a million times, you still do them, and you do them carefully. And these are safety critical calculations, so you don't mess about with them. You don't give them lip service. You do them properly. Make sure you got the right numbers in the box, and that's what it comes down to. Sometimes it's a tedious job, but it is vitally important that you don't make a mistake.
Now, I will say that this was a major error on the entire crew's. You can blame the entire crew for this, but at least once the error was noticed that something wasn't going right, at least the action of the captain advancing to full thrust was at that point a good decision, and it had a good outcome. Yeah, that's probably the only good decision. But it's at least they didn't just freeze. And I mean, we've seen a lot of these instances where even if they knew that there was something wrong, but they didn't do anything to help themselves, like push the power up or whatever. So at least the reaction was a good one. I
agree, Jeff.
Yeah.
For me, the number one thing, and I've spoken about this before, I'm not one to accept intersection takeoffs ever. I don't. Why leave perfectly good runway behind you? In fact, it happened to me in Taiwan the other day in Taipei. It's just maybe 300 meters of runway. And I actually had the numbers for I think it was a November 1, November 2 off runway 23 right there. I had the numbers for November 2, anticipating an intersection takeoff in case something happened. But we took off and requested November 1, so I had the numbers for the intersection, but I used the full runway. I just don't like intersection takeoffs. Just me. And so, but by not accepting them, I usually, take care of that. On the other point that Captain Nick mentioned there, that's really interesting. I've never actually heard that way of doing the numbers, where you have independent crew members do their own thing and then kind of come together and compare. I guess that depends also on the method that you use to figure these numbers out. That used to be the case on the 777. We had an EFB. FO had his on the right, obviously. Captain had his on the left. It was the name of the program itself was the OPT, the onboard performance tool, and you would input all the data there: runway, weight, flap setting, wind, QNH, temperature, all that other stuff, and then the computer would spit out the numbers, and you could load them directly from the OPT to the FMC. And have them displayed on your primary flight display. What I use now, which is I think what Captain Jeff uses, I'm not sure. I guess he'll correct me if it's not the case. We use a system called Aerodata, which works off of ACARS, your aircraft addressing and reporting system, and it's basically the same thing. You call up the runway and the input winds and CG and all that other stuff in there, and it spits out the numbers. The cool thing about this AeroData is that it is, and if things work fine, this works like a charm. If, say, for example, a runway is NOTAMed closed and you are operating during the window in which that runway is closed, when you call up the runways for your selection process, that runway will not appear. And so that kind of, takes that runway away from the equation, and that's one more level of safety there. But interesting the way that Captain Nick did it with his FOs. I find that very, very good. Just compare and see see what each one of you has.
iHaul Boxes has a question for Camacho Man. How's that done on the C-47? Still with paper charts?
Yep, it is still with paper charts, just like when you're flying a 152. Captain Nick is miming the I don't know what that was, the instrumentless pilot.
That was wetting your finger and sticking
to
out
see what
the window.
direction the wind's blowing.
Nope, it's
highly
like I said,
calibrated.
It's just like a Cessna or a Bonanza. There's just a lot more information. There's more charts to look at, right? We've got all sorts of performance charts for the engines that I don't have on a smaller airplane.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it.
And the cool thing about those charts, I'm going to say, Nick, is that they are so conservative as far as the numbers. They're so padded.
Yep.
And so, if you follow those charts, then you're usually in the clear. Now, I'm sorry, you're going to say.
I was just going to ask you a question, Rick. I'm a mostly single engine pilot, so I'm also a big fan of not leaving any runway behind, because there is never a point where you could have an engine failure and not be like, man, I wish I had an extra 500 feet of runway here.
You know what it is for me? I just picture myself in the hearing at after the fact.
Yeah.
It's like, the hell, what were you thinking? Why didn't you use the whole runway?
Yes, Captain. Yeah. What was wrong with using the entire runway? You saved 5 minutes. Was it worth it now in your
And you know what? My mentor, the first time I upgraded, he and this is, I'll never forget, he told me, when you put the fourth stripe on, always think like a lawyer. Just ask yourself those questions, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. You have to explain yourself. You have to explain why you'd made a certain decision when there was clearly a better one to be made. How do you justify that?
I think we can forgive the crew this time, because there was work in progress on the bit of the runway that went to the full length. So they
didn't have the choice to use a full length.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, to use Echo.
Yeah.
Right. But I wish Frank was here, because I was going to ask him if the 350 is clever enough to know when they actually line up to take off that they've used a starting point on the runway that was different from their performance calculation.
Hang on, let me see if he's...
Yeah.
Hey, Frank,
could you
are you
give
still
him
here?
a ring? Could you give him a ring?
Yeah, he's probably trying to take a little nap. Hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but we have a question we need to ask.
Because that's the sort of thing that you actually need to double check all this stuff. It's a bit like the landing distance shout outs that you can get when you've got too much energy for the amount of runway left. That some aircraft are capable of shouting out that you've got to go around because you've landed too deep. This sort of thing. If they
the 350 has BTV, right? The brake to vacate. And
it does.
And so
that's one end of the scale. We need something similar for takeoff.
Yeah.
So if someone who's current on the 350 could write in and let us know if that is a system and how it works, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you guys vamp while I'm typing. That's right. So hey, Jim Mercado is with us in the live audience, and I just asked if you wanted to come on with us to talk about the new Oshkosh APG Oshkosh shirt design, and we'll see. But even if he doesn't want to come on, we can talk about it, and we're going to do that in Oh, Jim Mercado is the gentleman, the professional graphic design and marketing guy. Okay, he does want to. Okay, that designed the APG logo, and he also. Well, hang on. We'll talk about that in a second. I need to focus now on how I get him to join us on StreamYard. Dun-dun. Let's see. Go to StreamYard. Standing by. Invite guests to the broadcast studio. Okay, I'm going to copy this to the clipboard. I'm not going to put this in the live audience chat because we're going to have a lot of people joining us, and no hard feelings, but I just want Jim to join us right now. So let me.
Okay, it looks like iHolboxes, who is quite an amazing font of knowledge for a trash hauler. He says that he's managed to Google and says that there is a takeoff monitoring function. That's great.
Well, how about that? Hey, Jim, I'm going to send an email to you with the link to join us.
Yeah, I imagine it works with the. I guess it compares the position, the lat long of the threshold for the specific runway, compares that to the lat long of the aircraft, GPS position of the aircraft, and I guess works out for that, because I know that's the system they use. Folkwa they use, and I'm not cursing at anybody. That's the system that Folkwa uses to.
I
want to, though.
Are we?
Anytime I think about Folkwa, I want to curse out some people.
That's the basis that Folkwa uses to gather whether there was a deep landing or not, or if you touch down outside.
What does that stand for again?
Flight Operations Quality Assurance.
Ah,
yeah, Folkwa.
I should know that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So are you inputting the runway data and then it's just bouncing your location against it, or is it smart enough to?
No,
say...
it's in the database. It's a lat long database. And in fact, that's how the there's and obviously I'm just talking Boeing because it's really all I know. There's another system which the name of it escapes me at the moment. It tells you the runway that you're entering as you are taxiing on. So it'll tell you on runway 28 center, for example, and it knows that you are there because it's comparing your GPS lat long versus the GPS lat long of the runway that's contained in the database. Okay. That's kind of how that works.
We're bringing on Airbus A350 expert Jim Mercado from the west coast of California. Oh, wait a minute. You don't know the answer to this? Okay, boot him out of here.
I could probably design one, but not fly one.
Okay. Hey, Jim, as I was mentioning, he is like the creative graphic logo genius for the APG, and he designed the Fly Acme logo that so many of you proudly wear on your T-shirts. Oh, look, that right there. Thank you, Liz. And he also designed the what do we call it? The Osh Bash or Osh Blast, I think, in 2019 when we had our big meetup there in Oshkosh. And
the Farnborough,
and the Farnborough
beer bottle. Oh
yeah, the flying beer bottle. That's right. A lot of different designs, and then of course the latest, not the latest, but the almost latest, the 500th episode label for the the beer glasses.
Yeah.
And I guess we also have some T-shirts with that logo available as well. So anyway, when I decided that I was going for sure to Oshkosh this year, I knew it was last minute. I said, I know it's very short notice, Jim, but could you maybe? And he was in Hawaii when I contacted him, and I said, hey, do you think that we could come up with some simple design? Because I'm going to be going to Oshkosh, and I'd like to print up some shirts, and I'm going to be giving out some of these shirts while I'm there. I have a limited number of them, and I'm just going to give them out. They're free, but we do have the design available on men's or unisex, I guess, and women's T-shirts on the Teespring store on the at APG store on the website. So, Jim, as he normally does, this is what you do for a living, right, Jim? Creative
Yes.
Spark?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yes, Creative Octane is my company.
Creative Octane, I'm sorry.
Yeah, do brand discovery and brand messaging, and then brand logos, and website development, and all kinds of great stuff to help marketing groups and companies get noticed. But I'm a private pilot, 1,000-hour instrument-rated private pilot. I grew up at Boeing in Seattle, so I'm a huge fan of aviation. And I think I was, Jeff, I was trying to remember, I think I joined about episode 40 or so. So
yeah, very early on.
The APG syndrome is definitely running. But I'm
he didn't have, it didn't take long for him to, catch up.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have too long to catch up with only 40 episodes or so.
Right.
But anyway, I always love, what you guys do and being part of the community. And anytime I can, contribute in any way possible to, make a commemorative shirt or anything that we can all join together at an event, I'm all in. I'm all for it. So I always love helping you guys out.
Yeah, so let's see what Jim came up with. Wow, look at that! That's such a beautiful design.
Ooh.
And this is Jim. He's so awesome because this is his profession, and I mentioned something. Just to slap up something simple, and then I'll just have some transfers made and have some shirts produced, and so he always treats me like I'm a Fortune 500 CEO. And the presentation, and many of the hosts here have been included in these kind of presentations that Jim does, and it's so. And I know we know his routine now. He'll throw something up, the first design that he comes up with, and I always go, "Oh, that's it. That's great. Let's go with that." And he goes, "Oh, wait a minute. Let's talk about this and that and then he goes through this whole evolution, this whole process of design, and then this is the final evolution of that. Yeah, Liz is saying that she loves the 50% on the tail. Perfect. Anyway. It's kind of a retro poster look of a tail of jet.
Yeah, definitely inspired by the classic travel posters in the airline industry, and I'm a big fan of that. And Jeff, and the Acme Airlines logo is kind of a nod to the past in aviation, but it's been modernized. And so this is just a generic jet tail. Brought in for the Oshkosh, and the 50% accuracy is the name of our plane here. But this is kind of the first time I was excited about this, because it's kind of the first time we're seeing the actual Fly Acme Airlines logo on an aircraft. We've never really shown that before in this classic airline style. So I'm pleased with the way this came out, and my test is always, would I like to wear one? And so I was kind of excited by this.
Absolutely. So those are pictures of the shirts that we have available on the APG store if you want to order them. I believe you said, Jim, that you contacted them and they said that they order by the 11th, I think, that they can get them in time for Oshkosh if they're going to be attending.
Yeah, so right from airlinepilotguy.com, there's a link to the APG Teespring store, and you can follow that link and see all the merchandise in there, and you'll notice there are these shirts, both men and women. There's a couple of different colors in there. And last I looked a few days ago, if we ordered now, as in today or tomorrow, pretty quick, we'll get them in time for Oshkosh. And of course, the great thing about Teespring is you just give them your credit card. You can buy one shirt or 50 or whatever you want, and then they ship it directly to you. We also added a sticker in there, which is kind of cool for the Fly Acme Airlines, because again, I thought it would be kind of cool to have one on my bag, and proudly show that around. So that's kind of a new thing as well.
Very cool.
Nice. Excellent.
iHaul Box is smart aleck. He goes, is the show going to be out by the 11th, Jeff? Probably not. No, I don't know. I'll make every effort to get it out before the 11th. But as I said, if you're going to Oshkosh, hit me up. Should have a few shirts in a couple different sizes both women and men's T-shirts with some transfers that I had ordered myself. I'll actually be printing. Captain Nick is very familiar with the piece of equipment that I'll be using to
very
make.
Sophisticated.
Yes, very sophisticated. Let's not go into a lot of detail. But it's a very dangerous thing because it gets really hot.
Hot.
Oh, look at that!
Hot.
Craig already ordered one. Thank you, Craig. But anyway, and the only difference in the shirts that I'm going to be bringing with me to Oshkosh and the shirt that you just saw displayed here on the show is that the print is just a slightly smaller that I'll be doing with the heat press. But
of
anyway.
course, and those are handmade by Jeff, so those have more value.
Incredible.
A lot of cachet.
Those are collector's items.
Sign them? Yeah, I'll have to bring a Sharpie with me and sign them.
Yep, you will. Yes, I'd like mine signed, please, Jeff.
Okay.
So the guy in the car would like it signed as well.
By the way, I'm a bit of a fan of aircraft bottoms, butts, or whatever, and that looks like a Boeing butt to me.
That's a 707. It looks like a 707. The vertical stabilizer is more like a DC-8, but the very back of it reminds me of a 707. At least reminds me of a.
I thought it looked a bit 747-ish.
It does have a 747-ish look to it.
I could see that as well.
Come on, Jim, reveal all. What airplane is that?
This is just the best. When the design side meets the aviation nerd engineering side. Where my side says, it doesn't really quite matter. It's just kind of a cool airplane kind of thing.
It matters to us, Jim.
But I know it matters with my pilot side. So it's based on a 707, but it's been modified and simplified a bit, for the graphic purposes here. So
yeah, you're missing the HF aerial out of the top of the fin.
That's right.
And the Q spring. Right. Well, actually, I guess you wouldn't be able to see it because of the stabilizer there, but I love it. It's just just harkens back to those Pan Am days, I guess, on the colors, and it's just I love it. It's amazing. Just wow.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Worked out well.
Oh, and should we mention, Jim, that maybe we should hold off on that the other design that's kind of similar to this one?
Well, now that you've teed that up.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So we like this idea and this design, and so I thought it would be very cool to have this beyond Osh. Of course, it's great for Oshkosh, but I would like to kind of have this to wear around all the time and have it say APG on it. So there's another version of this that has not been seen yet, but it will be for all-around purposes that we can wear year-round. It'll take out the Osh and replace that with the Airline Pilot Guy Show or APG. So
yeah,
excellent.
Yeah,
I thought it would be fair to
identifier.
Yeah, I would. I thought it would be fair to mention that because a lot of people may not be going to Osh and really don't want any Oshkosh merchandise, and so yeah, we'll have that available after Oshkosh. Oh, great. He knows what it is. It's a Boeing 707 McDog bus Max. Nailed it. Where's my bell? Hang on. The darn screen went blank again. Darn it. Okay.
Uh-oh. What are you flying, a Max?
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Yeah. Just look out the window and land on the darn runway.
Well, I think it's always challenging from a design because we could just do hundreds of different aircraft and pick our favorite, which is also an idea for future designs. But yeah, it's just coming up with just the essence of a classic era of airlines. So that's what this represents.
Yeah, I love it.
Love it.
I love it. I think all of us love the old aviation posters and have that kind of retro kind of feel to it. I love it. So Jim, Nick wants one on a balloon, according to Liz. Can you make
That must be Nick Camacho,
yeah? No,
I don't do balloons.
Oh no, I think she's talking about Captain Nick.
So I don't know which Nick we're referring to.
We're talking about you, man, because you love balloons. I'm so surprised you haven't become a balloonist or a balloonatic.
A balloonatic.
Yeah, in your retirement. Anyway, hey, Jim, I know it was like a very short notice. Noticed you in the live audience. You're more than welcome to hang around if you want, or if you have things to do. completely get that as well. So, your choice. If you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to.
Sure, as long as I'm here, I always like to.
Might as well
Join in.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Let's see. So, Liz, where were we? Oh, we're still in the news segment. 1D is what she's telling me. So let me cue that up. And here we go. Okay. This is also from the Aviation Herald. South African Airways Airbus A330-300, registrations Zulu Sierra Sierra X-Ray Mike, performing flight 9053 from Accra. How do you say that? Accra?
Accra.
Okay. Ghana to Johannesburg, South Africa, with 184 passengers and 25 crew. 4 flight crew, 20 flight attendants. Wow. That's a lot of flight attendants. And 1 technician. For a 330-300? Nick, does that sound like Captain Nick?
It sounds like they had a second crew. They probably did a straight turnaround, and one crew sat down, the other crew got up and operated the home flight.
Okay.
I think that would explain the technician on board as well. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And maybe just because they don't like overnighting at Accra, I don't know.
They were en route at flight level 410, about 150 nautical miles northwest of Gaborone, Botswana.
Gaborone, yeah.
At about 310 nautical miles northwest of Johannesburg, when the crew reported both engines, Trent 772s, were surging and requested a descent to flight level 190, which was approved. Yeah, it's no good when one does it, but when all of them do it, it's no good.
Yeah.
The aircraft descended to flight level 190, continued to Johannesburg, but experienced further surges on both engines, even during final approach to Johannesburg's runway 21 right. The aircraft landed safely on 21 right about 50 minutes later. The flight, originally SA-53, had been scheduled for April 14th. However, during fuel uplift at Accra, the fuel had been contaminated with high quantities of water, which was noticed when the engines would not start after pushback. Well, that'd be a big clue. The flight was then pulled back onto the stand.
If only they could run on water, it would make life so much simpler, wouldn't it?
It would. It really would. A lot less expensive. The water was subsequently drained, and the aircraft flew to Johannesburg the following day, encountering surges of both engines. Following the flight, the aircraft remained on the ground in Johannesburg until May 18th, 2022. Let's see, this happened April 15th, so a little bit more than a month. Ooh. After landing, still significant contamination with water was found in the remaining fuel systems, and engines. All fuel pumps needed to be replaced. South Africa's CAA reported the occurrence was rated a serious incident, and it's being investigated by Ghana's AIB. At this time, June 28th, no preliminary investigation report is yet available.
Wow.
That'll get your attention.
No, absolutely. Looking at 310 miles, so that's 8 miles a minute. That's about 40 minutes out or so. So 10 prior to top of D, because top of D is top of descent. You'd be bringing your descent about half hour out. So it's a good thing that it was towards the tail end of things, and you were at 41,000 feet. You start hearing both engines. Start coughing up, and I don't know what I would. I started looking for a place to put the damn thing down as quickly as possible, because you're just not guaranteed at that point that the engines are going to stay on. Thankfully, we know of another 330 that did quite a bit of flying without engine power when it landed in the Azores, and so these things do they do glide quite a bit. They're not gliders, but they do glide.
But it helps if the captain is a glider pilot.
It certainly does. It helps even more if there's no water in the damn fuel. But
true.
Absolutely.
In this case,
this is a real worry, because having realized there's a problem and you've got your own engineer there to make sure the aircraft is fine, to miss the fact that there's a significant amount of water left in the fuel when you think you've drained it all out is a worry. I don't know whether he got in touch with Airbus and followed their procedure, or whether he did something that, just drained the tanks until the water stopped coming out. But
you just use one of those things like on the 150, right? You just stick it up there. And
well, actually, I think you're probably exactly right. That is more or less exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But how the hell Accra thought they could, start pumping gas with such a high? It's supposed to be checked at the pumping point by there's a system that the refuelers use to check the visually check the fuel before they start pumping. But you don't know at some of these places that all the normal procedures you'd expect elsewhere are being done. I mean, do you remember that story of the 330 going into Hong Kong that had, again, a fuel contamination problem, but it was actually a strange sort of hygroscopic particle that was part of the fuel contamination detection system that had got into the fuel system and blocked the engines, and they very nearly ditched. They just managed to get the aircraft in. This is, and it's no point saying this is a 2-engine aircraft problem, because of course if your fuel's contaminated and you've got 4 engines, it won't make any difference. They'll all stop. But yeah, this is something that you just need to be so careful about, because you're not going to get from A to B if you let your fuel get contaminated.
And I tell you, every time I flew out of the African backcountry somewhere, this is something that was in the back of my mind. I was like, I wonder if this fuel is good. And all the times I flew out of there, it was thankfully everything was fine. But that one time, like these blokes over here, thank goodness they were able to put it on the ground. And
we mentioned this so many times on the show that there is a certain level of trust that we have in our systems and our fellow humans that are overseeing so many things that relate to flight safety. And sometimes the system breaks down, or humans let us down.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Sadly.
Should I mention, Liz, Simon, I think, thought it was significant enough to include a link to another incident that this same captain was involved in, a vaccine flight that occurred on February 25th, 2021. It was out of Johannesburg, and it involved an A340-600. And they had an alpha floor activation on departure. Now, in this case, I'm not so sure that, just because it was the same captain in this fuel contamination thing and the alpha floor activation thing, again, I don't recall exactly the details on that, but I think that was more of a pilot error. And in this case, I think the fuel contamination was not related to the flight crew. So I'm not sure if it's fair to kind of connect the two or not.
This is an unrelated incident, and actually, Alpha 4 protection is there, and it did its job. Departures out of Johannesburg were notorious in our airline for incorrect flap retractions, because there are a few gotchas involved in getting airborne out of Joburg, and quite often we would do a non-standard flap setting to get the aircraft off at the right weight, because our standard flap setting sometimes gave us a weight limitation. We could relieve some of it by using less flap, and the problem was that as we accelerated the aircraft, having got airborne, it accelerates much slower because of the airfield elevation. The engines are working already. They're already 5,000 feet in the air, and they're not quite as efficient. It takes a lot longer. Things happen a lot slower getting airborne out of Joburg. And you're used to a certain cadence of when to do stuff. And if you've only got one flap retraction, but you're used to gear up and then very quickly after going one stage of flap up, crews were falling into the error of making early flap retractions instead of sitting and waiting, and it took forever for the flap. You'd get to the correct speed to raise that last stage of flap, the actual flap you used for takeoff. And we had a few guys who pulled all the flap up way early, Sometimes they put it back out again when they realize their mistake. Sometimes they staggered along an alpha floor.
Thanks.
Right, nobody saw that. Nobody saw that.
And
Yeah, I
just
mean, that
for
would
those
be-
people who don't know what alpha floor is, if you get the angle of attack on an Airbus too high, the engines will automatically go to full power to try and protect you from stalling. And it's called alpha floor, and it would basically it won't make a lot of difference out of Joe because pretty much you use full power anyway. So you just got to hang on in there.
We're talking to 340, 300, right?
Yes, I think so.
So,
Yeah, and so it takes an age to accelerate out of it and get the aircraft safely above stalling speed. But I have a feeling that will be. But so I'm not surprised that this guy did it, because a lot of our crews did it. I mean, enough for it to become a thing,
Now it's very helpful in these new aircraft. On your primary flight display or EADI on the older 75s and 76s that still fly around, the ones that are equipped with a speed tape, you have a on the airspeed indicator, you have a little trend arrow that gets longer or shorter depending on the acceleration that you have, and that it's called the trend vector. That gives you what your projected airspeed is going to be in the next 10 seconds. And so the idea is to obviously have a positive trend at speed and get to the next stage of flap retraction when the little, and I'm talking Boeing again, when the little caret on your airspeed indicator tells you to do so. And so, for example, on the 747 out of Quito would take off, very, very close to max takeoff weight out of there, and it'd be a flap 20 takeoff. And so you would keep the flaps at 20 until the trend vector went past the little 10 mark. Once it got to 10, you'd go to flaps 10. And then when it got to 5, you go to flap 5, and then 1, and then up. And that's very critical from 1 to up. It's very critical that you pay attention to what you're doing and that you have the proper acceleration and energy, because when you go from 1 to up, your trailing edge is all retracted. All you have hanging is the leading edges, and that is where it gets really critical there. And it's really cool because you look at your primary flight display, and you have a set of little amber lines that look like a little mustache. And it's called a pitch limit indicator, the PLI. And as you are getting to a point where your angle of attack is getting to a critical point, that PLI will come down to the center of the screen. And if the center aircraft symbol coincides or touches the PLI, that's the point of activation of the stick shaker. And so ideally you want to keep those two separated, right? And so by giving yourself plenty of time, keeping in mind, as Captain Nick was saying, density, altitude, and temperature. Hot and high airports are very tricky sometimes. That's all you have to do really is keep your trend vector indication on there and clean up the aircraft on schedule when the PFD tells you to do it. So it's, all these systems are pretty much pilot proof, but then we'll still find a way to screw it up.
Yeah, nothing's pilot proof.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Last news item is an employee of a major U.S. airline took $1 million in kickbacks to divert aircraft parts orders. Liz put the little thing here in this week's installment of Aviation-Related Criminal Activity. Former employee of a major U.S. airline based in Long Island City, New York, JetBlue, was arrested and arraigned on Tuesday on charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering over allegations he accepted more than $1 million in bribes to divert aircraft parts orders to two companies whose owners were paying him kickbacks. Kylie Nunez, 37 years old, of New Jersey, is alleged to have fraudulently approved more than $10 million in aircraft parts orders on behalf of the airline, which has only been identified by prosecutors as Company One. Nunez's LinkedIn profile claims he worked for Long Island City-based JetBlue Airways for more than 20 years.
He started at 17? Wow. He started at 17.
I guess. Must have been working out there on the ramp or something, huh? Yeah. As a technical buyer, Nunez was responsible for procuring aircraft spare parts from so-called, quote, aftermarket parts sellers. He would solicit quotes from various sellers in order to get the best deal for the airline. Part of the procurement process was using the services of trusted and previously used sellers. In 2018, he was accused of requesting that a company called Summit LLC be added to the airline's internal parts ordering system, falsely representing that Summit LLC was the same company as Summit Corp, or Corporation, which the airline had used for parts in the past. In fact, Summit Corporation had gone out of business 8 years before. Nunez is accused of authorizing purchase orders worth more than $1.5 million between the airline and Summit LLC, and in return, prosecutors claim Nunez received tens of thousands of dollars in kickbacks from the owners of Summit LLC. Over a number of years, the fraud is alleged to have become bigger and bigger and included a second company. Hey, if that's working, I'm making lots of money. Let's start up a second company based in Florida. In the end, the airline may have spent more than $10 million on aircraft spare parts at hugely inflated prices, while Nunez and a co-conspirator received substantial kickbacks. As alleged, the defendants were at the helm of a corrupt scheme to defraud an airline by diverting contracts to vendors in exchange for more than $1 million, according to United States Attorney Breon Peace. The men behind Summit LLC, Julian Levi, 37 years old, Ivan Santos, 41, have also been arrested and arraigned, while the man behind the Florida-based company, Romanik Sony, is due to be arraigned on Wednesday. Found guilty, the men face a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. So, yay. Way to go, guys.
Wow. Nicely done.
Yes.
There you go.
Anything else to say about that other than, if you're doing something wrong and illegal, eventually they'll probably catch up with you. Crime doesn't pay. We should write that down.
Crime doesn't
pay. All right. It does for a short period of time, apparently.
And then you get caught. Yeah.
Then you get caught. Yeah. All right. That should do it for the news segment of our show. And that means it's time for me to press the button that no pilot would ever push. Getting to know us, jingle. Wait, no. It's okay to push that one, I think. Okay, thank you, Liz. She gave me clearance to push that one. So this is the segment of the show where we talk about what everybody's been up to between shows, or between the last time they were on the show, or in this case for Jim, this is the first time he's been on the show. So
this is going to take a while.
Yeah, it's going to take a while.
Like in the beginning.
Wait a minute. Let's keep it like an abbreviated version of. You kind of told us a little bit about yourself. Not a lot, but this is your business marketing. How would you describe what you do for a living, Jim? And you mentioned you were a pilot. Of course, that's the most important thing. Actually, probably right. Being a family person, that's probably more important even than being a pilot. I don't know. True. Some people would say. Yeah.
True that. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about you.
Yeah. So really two passions in life as it's developed so far. One of them is flying, and that comes from growing up in Seattle. My father worked for Boeing, and I have these great memories of going to the Boeing factory on the weekends when it was closed, because they were not working, on the weekends at that time. And in Renton, the line of, I probably shouldn't say this, but the line of 727s, from at the beginning, hardly put together, and at the end, they were mostly put together. And as a kid, I got to go there and just crawl through those aircraft. Nobody was around.
And hide tequila bottles in the airframe.
Yeah, tequila bottles.
They weren't for me. I didn't put them there.
That was more recent, Captain Nick. I don't think it was back when Jim was doing it.
Sorry, Jim. Didn't mean to cast dispersions.
But I always say, obviously what we have in common is we love flying, right? And you occasionally meet somebody that doesn't like to fly, but if you love flying, it's just a question of how much do you have in your blood, and obviously I think everybody on this show and associated probably has a lot in their blood, and I certainly have a lot. So pursued that, and I am a private pilot, instrument rated, fly a Cirrus. And
Nice.
the other side is design and marketing and branding. And I love helping companies get more customers. And at the end of the day, doing some great work. And when they call me up and they say, yay, fantastic, thanks for your help. We got more market share, more customers. And in my career, I have worked in aviation. I actually have an airline client right now that I'm working with. And also technology. So I'm always interested in finding out about what companies do and what people do, and using my talent in creativity on how to help them. So traditionally, we would say we're a branding agency, a branding advertising agency, and we help companies, grow with their messaging, their websites, logos, trade show efforts, whatever it might be. So.
And you're in Northern California?
I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, Northern California, and that's how I met you, Jeff. Is you announced one time you're flying to San Jose, and we had a meetup there. And
yeah,
that was a great evening. And
yeah,
I've had the chance to meet several of you at Oshkosh and other places, and so love contributing any way that I can.
Okay, Tim, deal. I need to get back out to the West Coast and do another APG NorCal meetup for sure. Let's figure out how to do that.
I remember, Nick, you were out, with your crew, having some beers when we met up in San Francisco, and that was great, to meet you in person. And I think all the meetups are great. So
always one of my favorite destinations, Jim. I loved San Francisco.
Yeah, very good.
Good catch there, Nick. He was just about to say San Francisco.
Right.
Excellent. Well, as I said, so pleased that you're part of our crew, and it's the designs and stuff are just awesome. So, anyway, excellent. So, I guess unless you have anything else to add, we can move on to the next contestant on the Price is Right, Miami Rick. You haven't been with us for a while, and we need to get caught up. What have you been up to?
Yeah, it's been a minute. So a lot of flying as usual. Switched back over to Cincinnati base for a little while there. Even flying to Hawaii all the time can get a little tiring every once in a while, and so there's a bit more variety in the lines out of Cincinnati. So just enjoying that, a little bit of variety. Got on one of my trips, was about a month or so ago, my trip ended in Miami, and a lot of us, both captains and FOs, would keep getting displaced off of certain flights because they were being operated by obviously 767s, but these are 767s equipped with a new cockpit that we have. It's the large display system, LDS, which replaces the old steam gauges and CRTs on the old 76s with very new, fancy, big screens, a la 787. Same manufacturer, Rockwell Collins. Very, very nice stuff. And so the FAA requires that we go through basically a sim ride, just to talk about the differences and how and just to play around with the panel and see how the different functions work and all that, and with different presentations, because a lot of pilots that fly the 7.6, they've never flown the 7.4 or any other Boeing for that matter, and so I can see how it can be something new. And so, you do a couple of bounces in the pattern in the box there, and then you need after you're signed off in the simulator, you have to go and do 2 sectors, one SPF and one SPM, and then you get signed off on the aircraft. So did that over the last. Actually, got my sign off about 2 weeks ago. Finally, did my sign off there, so I'm good to fly those jets. Which I was talking to the guys here on the panel before we started. It's kind of good because that's going to keep me away from doing any Asia flying, which I just came back from doing about 2 days ago. And man, oh man, it's it was I now remember why I left the 7.4. It's hard work get into the other side of the world and then acclimate into that, and then doing that flying. That what I did back there down in South Korea was we do what's called rice runs, and this is for DHL, their customer. And what we do is we do flights between Incheon, South Korea, to Taipei and Taiwan, over to Nagoya, Japan, and then back to Incheon, and that's all done in one night. So it's 3 short sectors, but it's a very long night. You leave about your wheels up at about 5:30 in the evening, and you don't come back until 4 in the morning the next morning. And so you have a day off there in Incheon, and then you do it all over again. So I did 3 of those, and then on top of that, you have to make it back on a company aircraft to back to the U.S. So did that. That was interesting. It was nice to go back down there. I hadn't been in Asia or in that side of the world for about 2 years pre-COVID, and it was interesting going back there and seeing how things have changed a little bit. Korea is pretty much open, back to normal. A little bit of mask wearing and indoors still. The good thing is that the gym was open, and but the breakfast facilities are still separated. You still have airline crew and expats in a different location from every other guest in the hotel, which whatever. Breakfast is breakfast. And then what else did I do here? I had a couple of little sunspots that I had to get taken care of, which was a little eye-opening there. You all know I've been flying airlines for 20 years now, and being up in the flight deck there with those big windows, you have to really be careful with the sun. And so taking care of your skin is the only one you got, and so make sure that you're wearing that sunscreen and sun protection hats and that kind of stuff, because it can get tricky if you let it. And so just be careful with that. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on was we just adopted a new doggy. Foster failed once again, and so this one here is in love with Kaya, because we when we help out at the dog rescue, and then this doggy here had a cut paw, and he was very hurt, and so we brought him over to our house because clearly he wasn't getting the care that he needed at the rescue. And so he certainly, I guess, stole our hearts. And so after a couple of months, we decided to adopt him, and now we have 4 in our house.
Such a softie.
I'm a big softie. I really am.
It's quite a pack, Rick.
I tell you, but we love it. We love it. It's an adventure every day. I tell you, I don't need an alarm anymore because our little Malinois Lucy is up at 5:45 in the morning, which is great because I get to go to the gym at 7, and I'm back home by 9, and then the day's just begun, and so that's great. And I tell you, I mean, life without, and Nick, you're a dog lover as well. I feel like
absolutely.
Life without dogs is just, I don't know, it's just not complete, I think. And so happy to have Chance with us, and I think that's going to be it for now, because we're running out of room here, and we have a big remodel coming up, and so 4 is going to be it for a little while.
Excellent.
Yeah, good luck with that, though. The remodeling, that is. I'm sure your dogs will be fine.
It's going to be good.
Excellent. Thanks, Rick. Great to have you back.
There's always a spot when you get a new dog, and we have 2 dogs, and
nice.
One's a couple of years older, one's a couple of years younger, and we got the younger one. And you always think, oh yeah, we got an older dog, it's no problem, right? And then you get the new dog, and you start to say to yourself, wait, hold on, I don't remember this part. I don't remember the dog doing that. And of course it did, you just forgot. So you gotta ask yourself, did we do the right thing here? Did we do it?
Is it too late?
Is it too late?
Yeah, there's something else. The doggies. I love them all. I wish I could take them all in, but that's not possible. But
is the new one, Rick, a German Shepherd?
It's a German. This is a pure German Shepherd. Working line, so Eastern European. Just stunning dog. Very smart, and I've never I mean, Kai has been working with dogs ever since. I mean, and her parents as well were dog trainers and all that. But I've never worked with dogs very closely up until now. It's very nice to him. He's got 3 rescues. But I've never seen a dog emote so much and be so communicative. It's like he can talk. It's amazing. And he knows that we took him in and then we fixed him. We fixed his paw and we gave him a home, and he's just so thankful, and he shows it every day. They're like little people. They have their own personalities. They're just, and all they really want is just love and a place to live.
That's all I want.
So. And so
back in your box.
You got to get a dog.
No, I'm talking about me. I need somebody to adopt me. I'm house trained. I really am. All right. Let's see. Who wants to go next? Nick Camacho, you want
to? Sure.
Tell us about what's been happening with you.
Let's see. I think I missed a week, so it's been a couple of weeks since I've been on. The big threshold that I crossed during that time frame is I passed my first AMP written test, so I'm on track for.
Oh yeah, we got to
trying to get that.
Yeah, applause
congratulations!
On that one. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, that's fantastic news.
Thank you. I think when about a month or two ago when I was getting ready to go start working on that stuff, I kind of decided that I either needed to get the AMP stuff all done or get my instrument commercial rating all done, but probably avoid trying to do them both at the same time because I thought I'd kind of overwhelm myself. So I decided to do the AMP stuff first, and so I'm trying to just kind of progress through that as fast as I can and get that done and out of the way so I can start working on the flying stuff. So my plan is to try to get the second written taken before I leave for Oshkosh, which would mean I'd probably take it 2 weeks from today, which feels a little aggressive at this exact point in my life. But we'll see what we can get done there. And so 2 more written tests and then a day or a day and a half of oral and practicals stuff, and then hopefully be done with that.
Back in my day, it was only 1 day. What changed?
Oral and practical?
No, it was a day for oral and day for practical.
Okay, yeah.
So it hasn't changed. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it depends on the examiner. A lot like flying orals and practicals. When I took my private pilot check ride, I did about a 45-minute oral exam and then an hour flight test, 1.1 hours. And then I had a buddy who went out and he did a 5-hour private pilot check ride.
Oh my gosh.
And
jeez.
Yeah, I was a little shocked we didn't just lose him out of the aviation fraternity out of that because it kind of fried him, but he got through it. So
does he fly 330s out of Angola now, or just asking?
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, that was a big thing that I got done. I had a bunch of family in town for 4th of July, and due to the current state of affairs at my folks' house, there was a lot more involvement at me and my wife's house, so that took up a little more time than it usually did. And then outside of that, just been working on some planning for the C-47, the back half of the C-47 trip, which is going to be moving it to Rock Falls, Illinois, and then to Oshkosh, and then taking it home. So,
well, Nick is here. You have to say Dakota.
Dakota, yeah.
That's right. I've learned what a C-47 is. Nick told me.
Yeah.
So yeah, on that note, I think we talked about it last time I was on, but we're going to take the airplane to Wings Over Whiteside, which is an air show in Rock Falls, Illinois, like 2 hours west of Chicago by car. That's the weekend before Oshkosh starts, so like July 23rd. I think Saturday is the flying day for it. So anybody in that area, wants to go see the airplane. I haven't quite got sorted out if I'm meeting the airplane there at Rock Falls or in Oshkosh yet, but the airplane will be there at Rock Falls, and then
Rock Falls or Rockford?
Rock Falls.
Oh, Rock Falls. Okay, I was going to say. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Near Davenport, I think, Iowa.
Okay.
And then
if you're going to Rockford, I might see you there, but I guess it's Rock Falls.
Oh yeah, Rockford's even closer to Chicago, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Just south of Chicago.
Southwest. Yeah.
Yeah. So, then we'll be in Oshkosh for 5 or 6 days. I have still not completed my task for Jeff of trying to get us a alternative venue.
We're just going to play it by ear.
Stuff.
I still like the idea of doing the show underneath the wing of the Betsy's Biscuit bomber.
Yeah.
But don't know what the plans are for that airplane.
You'll need to waterproof your gear, Jeff. It drips terribly.
Yeah. I remember being a lineman at a Mobile Air Center. We had 2 or 3 DC-3s that we took care of. Yeah, they leak a little bit. It's not water.
They're just marking their territory.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll figure it out. No problem. No stress, Nick. We'll figure it out. Play it by ear, winging a prayer and all that.
Yep.
Captain Nick, how have
Yes,
you
sir.
been doing? Have you been doing anything in any kind of an athletic pursuit?
No, nothing. No.
Okay. Then we'll move on.
And I'm nothing of aviation related either. Actually, it's not true. I'm working my way through a book called 9 Lives, the story of a RAF Harrier pilot who I have to interview in a couple of weeks. So I'm reading that book, and it turning out to be quite interesting. No, the only thing, the reason I don't say I say it's not sporting related is that lawn bowls is not actually a particularly get up and go sport.
Yeah. What would you call
I suppose if darts can be sport, and snooker, then why not? But I've been comfortably successful in the competitions. We have big counties here, and it's a big deal to get through to a final competition in the set of county competitions there are. And I entered one called the Unbadged Singles, where you can enter this competition and earn your county badge by winning it. I've got through to the final, so that's really nice. There were 6, 7, 8, 9. It's about 12 matches you need to play, and it's a knockout. So you need to win all 11 or 12. I'm not exactly sure to get through. So I've managed to do much more. Been much more successful than I have in previous years. So I've discovered that I've earned enough points to be awarded my county badge. So I've got a county badge for Sussex, and now I'll have one for Surrey. And next season I'm playing in my third county in Hampshire, because I'm moving to a different club. And so I've got
Hereford and Hampshire.
Yes, there you go. Very good. I like it. So so the final is at the end of the month. So if I win that, that'll be nice.
So it turns out that you really do need those stinking badges.
I do, apparently. Yes.
Yes, congratulations. I think some applause is due for getting to the finals.
You're very kind. You're very kind. But,
he bowled them over. That's right.
Yes. But I'd prefer bowling a maiden over, but there you go.
Wow. I mean, there's a competition for that.
Which is a cricket analogy, not bowls.
Oh, no wonder it was lost on us.
It's probably gone straight over your head, guys.
No, it did.
Yeah. What was that?
Anyway, so that's only been my other achievement was I took delivery of a beautiful recliner which my wife bought me for our wedding anniversary. So
how is it?
It's
comfortable?
Delicious. It's delightful. It's fabulous. Yes,
very
excellent.
Nice.
She has a new diamond in her ear, and I've got a recliner.
It's a fair trade,
nice.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely.
Very good. All right. Oh, just me. Let's see. I'll try to make it quick so we can move on to some feedback here. Let's see. Independence Day, July 4th in the U.S. Well, it was July 4th everywhere, actually. But we call it Independence Day. There was the Peachtree Road Race in Atlanta. I did not run in that, but one of our co-hosts did, Dr. Steph. And I think she had a pretty, personal best at that 10K. And after the race, she called me up and said, "Hey, I'm hungry. You want to go for lunch somewhere?" I went, "Sure." So went down and picked her up, and we had lunch at it's appropriate 4th of July Independence Day celebration to have Mexican food. I guess. No, actually hot dogs and hamburgers and that kind of thing. But we had Mexican cuisine and enjoyed that. And so it was nice seeing Steph when she was in Atlanta. Right now I'm on a 3-day trip. Memphis yesterday, Jersey City today, and tomorrow I'll be home in the early afternoon. Then I'm off for the rest of the month. My vacation kicks in on the 10th of July and extends through the first week of August. And, of course, everybody knows that I'm planning on heading up to Oshkosh for the EAA Air Venture. And I'm going to have all my...
T-shirts.
And making T-shirts. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that. I have a whole long list of things that I need to do. I just need to remember to look at the list. So looking forward to... Liz, I never leave things to the last minute. I always leave things to the last minute. Anyway, anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. So this is my last trip for the month, and then next trip will be sometime about this time next month. And so I'm going to enjoy that. And all those of you who are fortunate enough to have the time off and make the travel to Oshkosh, I hope that you'll seek me out, try to find me. I'll be camping at Camp Scholler and somewhere there, and more information about that as we get a little bit closer. And so that's my Oshkosh update. And we talked about the new merchandise from the man who made it happen, Jim. And so I'll check that little tick box here. And AirVenture talked about that. Okay, cover art. Let's talk about that. Oh yeah, Captain Nick is back as our creative artwork genius, and of course the title of the last episode, Collision. What collision? And of course a very nice depiction of an engine falling off. I mean, if you have a collision on the ground, you never know what might happen, right? It might lead to the engine falling off and the contrail from that left engine ending. Very clever artwork. Did you did you hide the show number somewhere? I didn't look.
Yeah, the show number is actually quite relatively visible. You might need to expand the picture up a little bit, but yeah, you need to.
Well, I don't know how I can do that with with the slides.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
No, if you want to go find it, you'll need to look around a little bit.
Okay, is that a clue? Around?
Possibly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. So
we need some good suggestions for this week, of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Liz is suggesting that we just use the T-shirt graphic, but that might be more suited to the graphic for the show that we record up at Oshkosh. Well, yeah, we could always use it twice. Well, we'll see. Anyway, what else? Okay, we talked about that. Okay, it's time for coffee fun. So here we go. I'm going to hit that button right there.
Johnny, how much more coffee? No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh yeah, it is coffee fun time. That's Jeff Smith singing our APG Java Jive. And the Coffee Fund is your way to, there are many ways to support this great community of ours and this show. But one of the ways that we really appreciate are those people who have the resources to support us financially. And if you're one of those folks with the money just burning a hole in your pocket, can't stand it, you can join the Coffee Fund Cadre or the Coffee Bar Club, and a couple different ways to do that. One is the OG, the original Coffee Fund Classic method, and basically that's what people would use for a one-off or two-off or every now and then kind of a contribution to our show. But there are several people that also have signed up for recurring contributions. And I mentioned in earlier shows that we're just going to mention now the folks that just do the once in a while contributions, because our patrons, that's the other way you can participate in the Coffee Fund, by becoming a patron of the show, and they are continuous contributors, pledging a certain amount of money every show. So if you want to do it that way, we highly encourage that. Head over to Patreon. We'll see, patreon.com/airlinepilotguy. All the information is available by heading over to the website, airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did. We will too.
Just send your cash.
Oh, shoot. Good point, Liz. I was about to move on to something else, and I've forgotten that we have a new patron, and there it is on the screen. A new executive producer. Yay, Richard Smiley. So thank you very much, sir, for becoming a patron of the show. Again, Patreon is a way for you to contribute to small creators. Well, yeah, I'm kind of small in stature. And you can pledge a certain amount per... Are you okay, Liz? Did you fall over? You okay? Okay. Yeah, so it's a great way to support podcasters and YouTubers and people that create, have small creations. They like to content. Yes, content creators. There we go. Thank you, Liz. She's my words when I lose them, and she pours them into my ears. And yeah, it is scary, isn't it? Anyway, so consider joining the Coffee Fund Cadre or the Coffee Bar Club. Why don't you? All right. And now it's time for us to move on to feedback.
Captain, incoming message.
And let's start off. And I apologize, Jim, I didn't send you any of this stuff so you can see it as well. You just have to listen and input whenever you chime in when you deem it necessary. Okay, just over an hour left in the show if we go the full 3. This is from, Greg. Let's see. Hi, crew. Hope Greg Peterson. Thank you. Hope everybody's doing well. As some of you know, I lost my job at the Big Fan Company when my position was eliminated due to restructuring. But I'm still APG's big ass fan. Yes, you are. I'm happy to report that I have accepted a new job here in Lexington, Kentucky, with a manufacturer of construction equipment. I'll now be to blame for some of the items on your NOTAMs, cranes. Yeah, we see those all the time. I should mention that a couple of weeks ago, I had a Lexington layover, and I met up with Greg, and we had a nice dinner, and he filled me in on his new job, and it was very fascinating. The company that creates or manufactures these cranes, pretty cool stuff. Big things. I was recently discussing, this is Greg again, I was recently discussing with some of my AvGeek buddies the topic of what Boeing's or Airbus's, I'll throw you a bone, Captain Nick, next aircraft should be. I came up with the idea of a slightly larger diameter fuselage, bigger than a narrow body, smaller than a wide body, that could be built in a twin aisle configuration with 2-2-2 seating configuration in economy. First class would be 1-1-1, and business could be 1-2-1. This would make every seat an aisle or a window, better passenger experience, and would provide 2 aisles for faster boarding and unloading, a better operational efficiency. It turns out that there is an FAA regulation on the width of an aisle on commercial aircraft, and that's 14 CFR 25.815. Miami Rick probably knew that.
Yes,
Says
off the
on
top
a,
of my head.
I knew it. Says on a commercial aircraft with more than 20 passengers, the minimum aisle width is 20 inches. So to add the extra aisle, the fuselage would only need to grow in diameter by about 24 inches, just for good measure. One of my buddies that works in operations at a major U.S. airline thinks that this is a great idea, but two of my other buddies that work for major U.S. airlines, one as a ramper and the other as a 777 first officer, think this design will be cost prohibitive to operate. I'd be interested to hear what y'all think. Thanks for producing a great show every week. Blue skies, tailwinds, and cold beers for everyone. Thank you, Greg, our big-ass fan. So, anybody have any ideas that or opinions that just kind of jump out right away and you want to go ahead and take the baton?
Yeah, I'll start off by saying airline operators are so weight conscious that the newspapers you'll find on board are printed on thinner paper than the one you buy on the street corner or used to buy. They'll trim down menus by an inch or so just to save a few ounces or grams of weight. So the idea of building an aircraft with all that extra metal just to be able to fit an extra aisle in, I'm afraid is probably going to be prohibitively expensive.
Yeah. Well, so let's say instead of 20 inches, what if we just added
16 inches high?
I don't know.
Classic.
Possible idea.
Very good. Yeah.
That was an idea from iHaul Boxes. Thank you. Yeah, I agree. The extra weight, just in the development cost. But I mean, eventually they're going to have to come up with a new design anyway. What do you think, Miami Rick? You think that the twin aisle thing is something that's doable, or do you think they're going to stick with the standard?
I don't know. It's just Boeing has been teasing this MOM middle of the market jet for so long now. Maybe a new. I read an article the other day. When was it? Something about a new 757 type jet coming out. I don't know if they're going to designate that as 797. I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm with Nick here when you talk about the weight savings, and if you notice, a lot of these newer type aircraft, they don't even have IFEs anymore because they count on passengers bringing on their own tablets and tapping onto the Wi-Fi entertainment on the jet itself, and so every bit of weight that can be saved translates into a cost savings down the road, especially with fuel being the price of fuel being so volatile. Always, historically being volatile, and it being one of the most, expensive operating costs for an airline. I honestly don't know, though. Yeah.
Too bad we don't have any, like an aerospace engineer
I know.
on the panel that we could.
Wish we had one.
Oh, wait a minute, we do. Nick Camacho, what do you think?
I'm a mechanical engineer.
Oh, never mind then. Okay.
Do all that weird aero stuff.
Yeah, but you still have an opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree with both those guys. When you look at, and I remember this was probably 15 years ago. I remember watching a TV article on airlines getting weight out, and they talked about how somebody had done all the analysis, and like Nick said, the Sky Mall magazine and all the things that are in the back seat of that chair, they thinned those out and basically made those things buy their way back onto the airplane, saved like 6 pounds of flight. And when you looked over the course of the entire amount of flight hours over the entire fleet, it was like millions of dollars of savings.
Didn't Bob Crandall back in the American Airlines days? He took an olive out of the salad or something like that, and saved a bunch of money that way. I don't know.
I don't know, but it is, when you think about, I've heard people complain about the comfort level of seats in like the newer ERJ 145s. You look at the seat cushion, and it's like a 1-inch seat cushion instead of a 2-inch seat cushion. and that's a minimal thing compared to like the amount of structure that you'd have to add to add that 20 inches.
Yeah.
The next generation of airliners might actually be a blended body, in which case, you might actually have a lot of space inside that you can let the airline decide how many seats they're going to put in and what configuration they're going to be. Of course, there probably won't be any windows, but,
unpiloted blended wing body airplane.
Oh, might well be. You never know. Yeah.
There you go.
Hopefully they'll wait till Captain Jeff retires first. But
Alpa's going to like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if there's no pilots to belong into Alpa, they're not going to have much
Alpha's
to
not
say
going
about
to
it.
be a thing anymore. Hey, you know what? Y'all can have fun with all that stuff. I'll be out in my RV driving around and staying away from those pilotless.
Is that
airplanes.
your self-driving RV?
No. Well, yeah. Myself driving. Yes. Hey, we have some fun from JJ Pittsburgh. He sent us in some audio feedback, and he says pop quiz. So let's take a listen to what he has to say.
Greetings, APG crew. It's JJ Pittsburgh. I'm working on becoming JJ Nashville to do music, and I'll talk about that at a later date if anyone cares to listen. But so I did have a musical question for you guys since I'm in the music frame of mind. Oh, that's my GPS talking to me. I'm on my way to an Uber ride. But anyway, to get this feedback past the feedback screeners, I will have to make it an aviation question or a musical question disguised as an aviation question. So I'll put it this way. So to the APG crew, I'll pose this question to all of you guys. So if you had one band or musical solo artist that you would have a chance to fly to a gig, who would it be? And why? Quiz time from JJ Pittsburgh. So anyway, I haven't checked in a while. So yeah, just wanted to say hi. Thank you, GPS. I wanted to say hello and just checking in, posing that question to you guys. And I will hope to see some of you at Oshkosh because I am looking forward to that next month. All right, so have a great show and peace and love. Peace and love.
Peace and love, JJ. Look forward to having a beer or gin and tonic or two with you at Oshkosh. Who would like to come up with their the band or solo artist or whatever that they'd want to?
Well, I guess I'll start off.
Yeah.
I guess it'd be Guns N' Roses, and the reason why I basically had to because it was on my schedule, and that didn't go over so well because this is the 2008 I think it was 2007. Anyway, Axl Rose and the guitarist, I forget his name, they got in a fight, and so Axl went his way. The other guy stayed behind with the rest of the band. Axl, we had to get him to Rio de Janeiro for the Brazilian leg of their tour, and it was a little touch and go there for a little bit because the band was. I guess these people are always splitting up and getting back together. But anyway, Axl ended up making it on his own on a private jet, and we took the band with us, did our job, and that was that. But that's that's as close.
So which one would you want? If you could pick one, not the one that you...
If I could pick one?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Like is there any particular band or artist that you would just like say, oh, that would be just awesome for me to have on
Probably
my
Leonard
flight?
Skinner to get him there safely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Rewrite history a little bit.
Yeah.
I think for me it would be smaller plane, Cirrus. So it'd be much more intimate. You'd get to know them a lot. But I've always been interested by Sting, just intelligent, catalog of music over the years, played a billion places, done a billion things. I think he would always be somebody that I'd like to grab a cup of coffee with, or if we were on a flight, just have a chat.
On a fly in your Cirrus with you?
Yeah, Slash is who you're talking about.
Oh, Slash, that's what it was, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thanks, Jim. Nick Camacho.
Man, for me, I think his intent of that question, right, was like the musical interest. But I think if it's just any musician, I think I'd probably want to fly with Jimmy Buffett, just because I'd rather talk to him about his airplane stuff, because he's got a bunch of cool airplanes.
Yeah, he is
could
a
just fly around
avid
about
pilot.
His Albatross, and I think he'd be a cool guy to hang out with.
Yeah, that would be. And I love his music too. Win-win.
Yep.
Nick, Captain Nick.
Yeah, well, I've flown with a few already, because we, Virgin Records and Virgin Atlantic, we used to shift a lot of their stars around. So I had Jamiroquai on board. We've flown Tom Jones around a lot. There was some rapper on board once. He liked the sound of my voice doing the PA. So when we landed, he stayed on board, and they sent me up a piece of paper and asked me if I'd read these words out, because he wanted to record it in the cabin and put it on his next album. Anyway.
Did he?
Yeah, did it happen?
I've no idea, because I can't remember his name. But no, from a personal point of view, Don Henley's always been one of my favorite artists. And in fact, Don Henley as an individual artist, or any of the Eagles, just superb. That's kind of my classic go-to music whenever I need to listen to something decent.
Well, today coming into Newark International, Liberty International, there was a young lady, well, not young, but not old, who was getting
Good save.
in between.
A lady.
Yes, a lady, an attractive woman. I don't think she was a musician, but she said, "You have a very sexy voice." And I went, "Thank you."
Great.
Does that make up for my bad landing?
Love it.
I had the opportunity to do one of those today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Crash. We always tell you to be careful with the items shifting in the overhead bins, but today especially careful because of that last landing there. Anyway, so I had fun with it, and nobody complained, as far as I know. Anyway, but I do, yes. Hang on, I'll tell you when to put it in there. Okay, so many people know that I love jazz. I love all forms of music, but I especially love jazz. And a band that I've played their music many times on the show, the U.S. Air Force Airmen of Note. Go ahead and put it up there, Liz. This is a picture of them in Mobile, the Mobile Jazz Festival, which I was involved with. Our high school and the Mobile All-Star Jazz Band, which I was a member, played trumpet. We hosted the Mobile Jazz Festival way back in the 70s, before the turn of the century. And so I think this was in 76 when the Airmen of Note were the clinicians that would come and run their clinics during the. Oh, the U.S. Air Force Airmen of Note is the U.S. Air Force's jazz band, or big band jazz ensemble, and basically they continued in the style of the Glenn Miller band, and so they wanted to keep that tradition going, that big band kind of style of music. So, and I love the big band stuff. So, and Liz thinks. Go ahead and put it back up there, Liz. Oh, there you go. Liz thinks that the guitarist looks like a young Captain Nick. Is that you, Captain Nick? Did we know? Did we have a chance meeting in the mid '70s?
I was in my guitar playing days. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. A man of many talents.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. All right. So that hopefully that was a good answer for you, JJ, and that was fun. So thanks for chiming in, and I hope that Uber ride was a good one. All right.
I don't know. I haven't thought of the show title that would come out of it yet, but if we could somehow like work the episode art into like a wrap cover with like a Thug Life Captain Nick as the cover art for this episode. I think
yes.
Backwards ball cap
with spinning rim pendant.
I think I've seen like some kind of a depiction of Captain Nick looking kind of like that in the past.
I think we had a photograph taken of you and I at Oshkosh a few years back, and I've got my hat on backwards.
Yeah, that may have been
a good start.
What about when video? Oh, am I? Okay. Liz is saying that I'm Skyping. Is that?
Yeah, you're fixed now, but we missed that last sentence.
Oh, it was one of the best things I've ever said.
Not to be repeated. Yeah.
There it is.
It must be whatever word you're starting that sentence with is setting it off.
Okay, hang on, guys.
This is not working, Captain Jeff.
Okay. Should I switch to the hotel Wi-Fi? Okay. I don't know why that's happening. I bought that thing specifically, so this wouldn't happen. Yeah, it didn't work out very well.
Hotel
Okay.
Netflix time. Yeah, Micah, but he's on a hotspot. He's avoiding.
Yeah, I'm on a hotspot, so it shouldn't, shouldn't be the hotel people watching all their Netflix. Although it's 7:00 here, so I don't know. Anywho, number 5, and okay, come on, mouse, not working. Huh? Weird. Maybe it's just my computer, not the hotspot. Okay, this is from, this is a good one, from Lindsay McNeil. Hello, APG crew. I'm not an aviator, just an enthusiast who enjoys listening to your podcasts. I live in a neighborhood in Chicago that is directly under the O'Hare flight path. My 22-month-old daughter and I love looking up at all the airplanes coming into land. We are able to discern which aircraft and airline usually by just glancing up. We like to guess before confirming on the Flight Radar 24 app. The noise pollution can be a lot during busy times, but it's been worth it since one of my daughter's first words was airplane.
Very nice.
Yeah. My question is, you know what? Now, we discussed this before we recorded, and now that I'm rereading it, Rick, you're absolutely correct. You and Liz were correct about your assumption that this has something to do with crosswind landings. My question is, during windy days, my husband and I noticed that the planes coming in for landing from east to west seem to come in from northeast traveling to southwest, almost at a diagonal. How do planes land at a diagonal? I'd love to learn more about how this works. I've also been curious about how pilots land at airports like Midway with shorter runways on windy days. I feel for my fellow passengers who are white-knuckling the landing at Midway. I seem to enjoy them more than most. Keep up the good work, Lindsay McNeil. So I guess what she's saying, when I first read this, I thought she was talking about like flight paths coming in at a diagonal and then landing on an east-west runway. But now that I'm thinking about it, it makes sense that she means on strong crosswind days, landing east-west, a strong wind out of the north or the south, the airplane is going to maintain the track toward the runway alignment. They have to crab or weather vane into the wind to keep the airplane going on the proper track toward the runway. And she's wondering how does that work? How do planes handle this? And some pilots handle it better than others. Who wants to?
Absolutely.
That's the answer. Well, Rick, what would you say about this?
Well, yeah, just basically what you said. When you're coming into land, usually the autopilot will do this for you, tracking the lateral, extended center line of the runway, called the localizer. Once you click the autopilot off and you have a visual with the runway, basically all you do is just maintain that. And the reason why you weather vane into the wind there is because if you line yourself up with the runway, you'd end up downwind of the runway. And the idea here is obviously to land on the runway. So you basically keep that crab angle until just prior to touchdown. And then what you do with your feet, that's how you operate the rudder. Let's say you have a wind coming from the right? So you basically you're weather vaning to the right. And so what you're going to do is you're going to very gently but positively introduce enough left rudder to line the nose of the aircraft with the runway. And at the same time, you have to bank the wing, or basically introduce a rolling motion or a bank into the wind. So basically, left rudder, line it up, right aileron to bring that wing down, because if you don't bring that wing down, that strong wind from the right is going to lift your wing up, and that's not good. So you're basically at that very last portion of the flight, you are what's called cross controlled. So you straighten it up, lower that wing, and a perfect touchdown is when you touch down with the upwind wheel first, upwind landing gear first, and then the downwind one, and then you gently derotate the aircraft. And and it's very important here. You're not quite done yet, because the wing still wants to fly. You have to keep that wind correction in all the way until you're slow enough where the wings are not producing any more lift. Then you taxi off the runway, park it, and go grab a beer. Pat yourself in the back for that good landing. That's basically how that works.
All right. And as I said, some people do it better than others.
It's challenging, though. It's very challenging.
I think conceptually, like thinking about that crosswind, I always visualize, instructor back in the day with me, is the river analogy. That if we had a dock on one side of the river and there was a dock on the opposite side of the river, and we needed to go in our boat and row right across the river, well, if we pointed straight at the dock on the other side, we would be pushed down river, right? We wouldn't make that particular dock. And so you have to actually push the bow upriver. And if you just look at the airplane flying, into Chicago Midway or something, it looks like it's flying sideways, but it's really not. It's like that boat. The bow is pointing upriver, but it's actually going straight across. And when somebody explained that to me, okay, I can visualize that, because it's, you can't see air, you can't see wind moving around. So sometimes when you're first trying to get your head around how airplanes crab and, crosswinds and all of that, it's like, what are they doing? But that always helped me, and I always remembered that, and the river analogy. And I know I've heard you guys talk about that in the past as well.
That's a great one. It's a great analogy, though. I mean, it's and just like water, air is a fluid, and so it works perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, I use boat analogies all the time, like for wake turbulence. It's a great way to say, a boat puts out the wake, and we can see it in the water, but in the air you can't see it. Yeah, so that's usually an excuse why we kind of bobbled a little bit. Where we get into somebody's wake, like coming in on an arrival or something.
And IHAL boxes there. I'm sorry, Jeff. You're going to keep saying.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that IHAL boxes there says that weather vaning technically is only when the gear is in contact with the ground. Well, yeah, but I mean, I guess in this instance, we are referring to the point where the pivot of your vertical axis there, the axis about which you yaw, and so in a way you kind of are weather vaning. But yeah, I see your point as well.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Nick, I think it's getting kind of late over there. Captain Nick, kind of getting late over there. I don't hear you. I think you're muted.
It is a
lady
little,
lost
Jeff.
his voice.
Sorry, I was desperately looking for the title artwork I did of you riding a crab into land. and Rick riding his crab in behind you. But I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it in time. But there you go. Yeah, it's pumpkin turning into time here. So I've got a match tomorrow. So I need to get my beauty sleep, and I'm going to leave you and let the lovely Jim do all my talking for me.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, no pressure.
You have to practice your traditional British accent.
Your British
Absolutely.
accent, exactly.
Yeah, so lovely to see you all. Great to have you on board, Jim. Brilliant. And
Thank you, Dan.
I'll catch you all next week.
All right. Good night,
care,
and
Nick.
good luck
All
on
the
the
best.
match. I'm sure you'll do wonderfully.
Yeah,
All right.
he's gonna be great.
Yeah. All right. Moving on then. Number 6, our control room is telling me. How's the connection? Still okay?
That's good. Strong now.
Okay. Oh, this is one of those where I hope it's going to maintain its goodness, because I have to load up a video that goes along with this piece of feedback. So here we go. It is just about queued up. That's not the one that yes, it is. Okay. All right, going back over here to Evernote. Howdy, y'all. This is from Texas Charlie, and the title of his feedback, Boys and Their Toys. He says, howdy, y'all. Although the attached video is only marginally associated with aviation, it's cool as hell. I've heard enough stories from military members to know that hijinks happen, often involving multi-million-dollar, highly sophisticated military equipment. If the statute of limitations for such fun and frivolity has expired, can you regale us with some of the more interesting moments of taxpayer-funded, adrenaline-fueled hilarity that you're aware of? Watermelon bombing runs out of the back of a C-130 Hercules, inverted flying or flyby of the tower, a quick landing and rush to the closest John because of a bout of explosive diarrhea. Inquiring minds want to know. Adios, Texas Charlie gives us a link to this video that I'm about to play. And so here, let me see. Let me get the volume down on it just in case it's going to be too loud. And I'm going to add it to the stream. Now, you see, if you're watching the video, and if not, in the show notes, we'll have a link to this. This is from the Ultimate Military Channel. And it is a... what do they call these things? Catapult launching system off of a aircraft carrier. It doesn't look like an airplane, though, that they're launching. Oh, well, what the heck was that? It looked like some kind of a vehicle, some kind of a four-wheeled vehicle that is, I guess this is the Gerald Ford, the newest class of aircraft carriers for the United States Navy, and the catapult system that kind of looked like a traditional steam-powered one, didn't it? I thought I saw a little burst of steam, but I think that the Gerald Ford clips are, yeah, you can kind of hear it a little bit here. Let me turn the volume up a little bit. It's an electromagnetic catapult launching system, and there are people out there watching the launch of this vehicle, I guess specially designed to test this catapult launching system. Pretty cool. It's like, launching big things off the end of a aircraft carrier as we do.
Yeah.
Just to see how this thing works. Yeah, so I guess that's the electromagnetic noise that this catapult system is using, as opposed to the old-fashioned steam-powered. Oh, that's a better angle. Now we're looking at an angle from. Oh, nice. Yeah, a little skipping action there, like you skip a stone on a pond or whatever.
I hear these catapults are a lot. They go a lot easier on the aircraft than that initial pull versus
the electromagnetic ones.
Yeah, versus the steam-driven ones.
Okay.
Which I guess I don't know. I'll never know.
Oh, Tim Van Ram says my brother Mark was a test engineer on the Ford.
How about that?
So I guess this is a Ford that they're launching into the water. Oh, the Gerald Ford. Oh, okay. Gotcha. I really honestly thought that's what he was referring to, Liz. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I do need a break, Liz. All right, so a lot more to go. Well, not actually a lot more to go, but it's kind of fun to watch these things. Could sit here all day watching it. Anyway, so thank you for the link to the video. And now, as far as I'm thinking, we let Captain Nick go just a tad bit too early, because I'm sure that of all of us, he would be the one that would have the best story of military hijinks and that kind of thing. I really don't have any stories other than the time I got sick on a 141 after eating Guam chicken and very large quantities of Pabst Blue Ribbon beer.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's the only time I've ever been sick on an airplane, and it had nothing to do with motion sickness. It had everything to do with Guam chicken, which is fried chicken, very greasy fried chicken with a lot of hot sauce doused all over it. And
I'm going to blame the PBR on that one. I'm sorry.
Well, maybe it could be the PBR as well, because we had several cases of that. Yeah. Anyway, let's see. I guess Nick Camacho had to leave us as well, so we're not going to hear any hijink stories from him. He kind of unceremoniously departed, and maybe his connection he lost his connection. Yeah, right. Liz says maybe when we said goodbye, Nick, he thought we were talking about him.
All right, I guess. All right,
yeah. So do you have any stories of hijinks, Miami Rick?
Hijinks?
Like crazy stuff, like fooling around, probably more than you should, maybe wasting taxpayer dollars. Probably not.
You mean like that one time I took a 7.6 under a bridge? No.
Yeah, that time.
I've never done
sure.
that.
Yeah, inverted.
Inverted, exactly.
Mackinac Island Bridge. Wait, that was another airplane, another story. Jim Mercado?
In GA, not so much. Seems to be pretty supportive. But I do recall flying into Prescott, Arizona in a Cessna, and had a pretty cool experience where the Navy was pinning the wings on one of their pilots, an individual becoming a pilot. And the commander there kind of, winking and saying, hey, over my way, he goes, hey, it's really icing out, isn't it? It's just terrible weather. And I'm looking out going, he goes, no, trust me, it's really icing. You don't want to fly.
Uh-huh.
And he was getting on the phone to call whoever he reports to say, oh my gosh, we picked up some icing on our training jets. We can't shed ice in any way. So we're going to have to go ahead and spend the night here. So that was
that happens
deal,
quite often.
The wink, wink. Yeah. Like we're going to have to spend.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is. Now, were they bloody wings, Jim? Because that's what we did in the Air Force. You take the little backings off the little pins that are on the back of the wings, and you place them appropriately in the chest, and then you just pound it into the chest.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
There were 6 jets, and all of them just, the commander pinned the wings on, and then the others just followed up and just punched this.
Yeah.
Guy
so much
right
fun.
in the chest.
So much fun. And it's not really painful at all. Just kidding.
Yeah.
This is some hijinks of
there you go.
Rick
That's my hijinks right there.
with the ironing.
That's as spicy as it gets in my.
But that's not really too extreme, to be honest, Rick. Especially compared with Captain Nick's, ironing.
His
escapades.
His are
Wow.
Yeah. I'm.
Anything else, Liz?
That's a whole other level. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, not exactly what I was thinking, but it works. Okay. Do we have time? How? Okay, I don't know if we're going to go that full half an hour left, but okay. Welcome back, Nick Camacho. Okay. He just waved at us. All right.
Sorry about that. They needed some help back.
Oh yeah, no problem. As I said, when you need to go, you need to go. No stress zone here. Let's continue with at least another one or two of these, and then we'll wrap it up for today's show. Jeff, flight team, Jeff. Let's see. Let me get this sound clip available or ready to go. He says to us, "Good day, you wonderful people. I write to you because last time I sent audio feedback, a handsome mustachioed pilot and his Acme drones heckled me because of how fast I spoke. I just don't have 3 hours of my day to dedicate to beer drinking. So here I am writing a way too wordy email instead. Today is Friday, June 17, and it is official." Let me see how I'm going to do this here. I am done with Aviation Maintenance Technician School. Yay. Here we go. Congratulations. June 17. So that was a couple weeks ago. I've already passed my first 2 written exams and have my first oral and practical test this Sunday. So it sounds like he's going through kind of the same sort of thing you're going through, Nick?
Yep.
Right?
I'd say so.
Okay. Wish me luck and send good vibes. Okay. Well, June 17, it's been a while, so good luck in arrears. Or belated. Yeah, that's a better way to say it. Of course, I'll never be done learning. Yeah, I didn't say in his rears. I said in arrears. Of course, I will never be done learning as there is so much I still don't know. If I have learned one thing during my many years on this giant blue marble filled with way too many windbags and CO2 generators, there is always more to learn. No, I was not referring to the Acme Airlines crew. Thank you. After being stricken with a debilitating APG syndrome and learning about the always hilarious OB Charlie Alpha segments, okay, that's another show. I should have redacted that. I felt it only right to become or renew my patron support. I've really much enjoyed listening to your shows during my drive to school every day. I hope to continue to listen as I drive to work at the ionizing radiation detector Charlie. I have no idea which Charlie airspace he's talking about. Ionizing radiation detector Charlie. There is so much y'all talk about that I don't understand because I've not experienced it, but it's still always entertaining and enlightening. As someone who has not flown more than 20 hours over 30 years ago, you and your fans fuel my passion for aviation. Maybe one day someone will answer my question about what a TERPS is. Let's see. What TERPS is a terrain evaluate? I don't know. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think it's a type of ELF.
It is. It's an ELF over there on opposing bases. Yes, there is a TERPS ELF who is one of the little ELF workers in the government agency of TERPS. It's a thing that TERPS is a thing that they do when they're analyzing instrument approaches and departures and that kind of thing, and they have all these engineering things that they do with planes, not airplanes, but like
it's
level.
mostly for obstacle clearance and how you build approach procedures and departure procedures to accommodate that. And it's usually it's U.S. standards for that kind of stuff, for building approaches, arrivals, and departure procedures. And you can tell whether a chart is compliant to TERPS or not because on the lower left margin of the chart it'll tell you it'll tell you whether it's a TERPS chart or any other kind of chart, because there's different standards. Different countries use different standards. We in the U.S. obviously use TERPS, and you'll be able to see that on FAA charts.
Might be some other countries use like burps and
exactly another thing.
Yeah. Farts.
Exactly.
All right. Let's see. Keep the empty void above and fill the one between your ears. This is Gulf Romeo Jeff, flight team, signing off from the land of burnt coffee beans near the unfair child triple. This is something they do on opposing bases. People try to disguise the airspace that they're talking about, and sometimes they get very creative, and so creative sometimes even the opposing bases hosts can't figure it out. And this is an interesting one. Land of burnt coffee beans. I'm thinking he's talking about Washington State, maybe the Seattle area, near the unfair child triple Charlie. I don't have any idea what that means. Anyway, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate that, and congrats. Okay. Finish off with 11 and 12. Okay, button pushing feedback. All right, 11. This is from Marty McFly. Wow, I didn't know he was a listener. Pushing the button that should never be ... Hey, Goose. That is a hell of a fart. Captain riding in an F-14 blasts off. He landed okay, as did the pilot. Okay. Are you showing that right now, Liz, the slide? Okay. So... Oh. I don't know where that came from either.
That's the weirdest sounding F-14 I've ever heard in my life.
It's one of the older models.
Yeah, that's before they did the GE engine upgrade. That's a Pratt & Whitney, clearly.
How did that happen? I don't even recognize whatever that was that was playing on the screen. I'm looking down at our little control panel. I don't see any of that stuff. That's odd. Okay. All right, let's go back over here to Evernote. Yes, somebody's messing with us. What do they call that? Meekening? Like when they're doing the GPS. Anyway, here's a case where a person was being given a ride in the back seat of an F-14. During the flight, the person in the back accidentally ejected from the plane, and the canopy missing and back seat missing. The pilot landed the plane safely. The man in the RIO seat was a Navy captain, actually a battle group air warfare commander on an orientation flight in the F-14D. By the way, a Navy captain would be like an 06, I believe, like a full bird colonel in the Air Force and Army and Marine Corps. In other words, way up there, big gun. As skipper of the cruiser in charge of the battle group's air defenses, he had the chance to experience several E-2C and EA-6B flights, and he remarked the fact that the Prowler guys hadn't been able to make him sick. His parachute opened properly. I would never say that to a pilot. They weren't able to make me sick. Maybe you can. His parachute opened properly and he landed safely in the desert. He was recovered soon after and taken to the hospital with minor injuries. I don't know when this happened. Has anybody heard of this?
At least pre-2006, because they retired the Tomcat.
Oh, that's right. It hasn't been around for a while, right? Yeah.
So,
yeah, I just watched, there's a YouTube aviation. His name is Ward Carroll, and he is a former naval Rio on the F-14. Great channel. He just did this episode not too long ago.
Oh.
And yeah, that was a commander in the battle group getting a ride. He was qualified on the F-14, so they gave him a ride in the back. But I guess the briefing was, we're going to take off. We're going to go inverted just to make sure that nothing's laying around in the cockpit, to jam the pedals or anything. And then we'll give a demo flight. And so they've just taken off, gone inverted. And I guess the officer in the back was not used to the new D. And I guess in the debrief, somehow his hands went down and pulled on the ejection.
I need to hand on to something to keep myself from hitting the canopy.
When the airplane went inverted, just again, a routine check, they had planned on that. And he said, I don't know, my hand just went down. Next thing I know, I'm out of the airplane.
Wow.
So, yeah, but he was fine and everybody's fine. They landed the jet, put the canopy back on. And
in fact, that's one of the things that one of the, you can tell it's a D versus an A and a B just by looking at the ejection sheet itself, because the A's and B's, they have the two loops overhead And
yes,
the D's,
that was the difference.
Yeah, the D's
He
don't.
wasn't. He was used to the ejection handles being above the seat,
Right.
and I don't know if he fully realized that they moved them on this D model and they put them on the bottom of the seat. So
Yeah.
Yeah, Neil was asking about the pod under the nose of the F-14 that we see here in the picture. Is that like the laser guidance for the missiles?
And that's another difference between A's and B's and D's. The D's, they have two. You have a camera and a laser designator versus just the camera, the flare camera that the A's and the B's have.
yeah, if you like this kind of thing, this, like I said, this guy Ward Carroll on YouTube has got some great content for that.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'll try to remember to put that in the show notes. Okay, and then finally, let's wrap it up with this from Jake from State Farm. Yeah, what are you wearing, Jake? The button that should never be pressed. Greetings. So it has been discussed at great length about a news story a while back and the fraudulent pilot who pressed that button that no pilot would ever press. My disclaimer to this is that I'm sure you have this information already, but just on the off chance you had not heard, I thought I would share it with you, not so much as feedback, but more to cure all curiosity around the subject. This is also being suggested by another pilot and hearsay without further speculation on the internet and is not officially confirmed, so I cannot say with certain... Well, if it's on the internet, it's got to be true.
Yeah.
So on another plane podcast called Top Landing Gear, from an episode back on the 28th of April, I've only just got around to listening to it because certain other aviation podcasts take priority of my listening time. Cough, APG, cough. They were discussing this news story. When discussing, one of the presenters and resident pilot of the podcast, James Cartner, mentioned how when he heard this news story, he spoke to the other pilots on his fleet about this story to try to work out what it was that he pressed. It was obviously acknowledged that every button has a reason to be pressed at some point, so working out that button is harder. However, most people thought it was that he had pressed the RAT extension button whilst on the ground. I think we can all agree this is a button no pilot would press while on the ground. Okay, and let's see, James Cartner said that he did further digging, and it was suggested that the pilot started the APU while on the ground, and instead of switching it off, the pilot pressed the emergency disrupt button, rendering it inoperative. It is suggested the fraudulent pilot was subsequently found out by the engineers obviously having to be called out to fix the aircraft, and the pilot having to explain to them what happened and then questioning his actions, and not discovered by any pilot's suspicions being raised. It has been suggested that there was other stuff going on in the background in which the pilot was being investigated anyway, and this was simply the last straw. It's also proposed, well, a lot of suppositions here. It's also proposed that the pilot was found to have a lot of Parker Pen P-51 hours. Parker Pen, oh, I get it. P-51 hours from the Bahamas. That is to say, hours simply applied to his logbook, not with flying hours, but with the swipe of a Parker pen. Yeah, that's a big no-no in our world. Oh, that's right. Well, that's how they figured out he wasn't a real pilot, Liz. Yeah. Let's see. I'm sure that you have already heard both the RAT theory and the APU theory, but I thought I would bring them to your attention if you had not. No, I hadn't heard any of those ideas or theories, Jake. He says, as always, keep up the amazing work you all do on the podcast. It really is brilliant. Jake, the less disgruntled than the last time he emailed Britt. Yeah, he was disgruntled with Captain Nick, I believe. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad he's not so disgruntled on this in this round. No, I had not heard. Had any of you heard any of these ideas or theories?
No.
Yeah.
And for people wondering out there what a RAT is, no, it's not a big mouse. It's a ram air turbine, which is something we use for, depends on the aircraft, but oftentimes for hydraulic and electric, either or sometimes both, power generation when your engines are out, because in flight, usually that's what you use to generate both electricity and hydraulic power.
I have a photo of one here that we can all see. There's the.
There you go. That's the one.
Although this is the version that is a hamster, not a rat.
So it's that's a it's an Airbus part, that one.
So, oh my, you had to do it, huh? Okay.
Well, you know me.
Had to go there. All right. Yeah, I think that's a good show. Yeah, we need to wrap this thing up, tie a bow around it, and oh wait, before we do that, let's do 17. This is a good visual one, a great way to end the show. Larry Gregory, the geezer in Tulsa, Oklahoma, sent in a cartoon, and go ahead and slam that thing up there. And it is depicting a air refueling aircraft, except that this is in the future that we don't have any fossil fuels anymore. Everything's electric, and the caption here is "Jet Fighters of the Future," and it's just a long extension cord, a very large plug on the end of it, and then another. Well, I guess it wouldn't be a plug; it would be an outlet on the end of the thing, and then the airplane has a two-pronged, I guess. Well, how could you ground it, Liz? They're in the air. So only two prongs is necessary. So apparently whoever drew the cartoon knew something about electricity. And that's the way they're going to refuel or recharge, I guess, the fighters of the future. Very clever. Thank you, Larry, as always, for sending in the cartoon.
It's as long as they standardize the plugs, right?
Yeah, well, that'll never happen. You know that, Jim.
You take off from the United States, and as soon as you get over there,
you got
to reach out to the front and put that little adapter thing.
I could just hear the conversation. Hey, you brought the converter thing, right? Oh shoot, I thought you were going to do that.
Here it is in the cockpit.
Right.
How are we going to put it
I know, it's so big. Oh man, that's fun. Well, anyway. That shall do it for this week's episode, number 528, the title of which will be released in due time, and then we'll be looking at some beautiful artwork that Nick will come up with, and we're going to discuss potential title ideas as soon as we end this live broadcast. But before we do, we are going to tell you to head over to airlinepilotguide.com. It's our website. Lots of great stuff on airlinepilotguide.com, including merchandise that we talked about here earlier. And, of course, our merchandise guy, our brand ambassador, I think you call yourself, Jim, for the APG.
Sure.
And that's there. Let's see, what else do we have here? I think I have here. Let me throw this up here. We have the calendar, podcasts, Plain Tales page with more information about the Plain Tales that we have every once in a while now. Information about the crew, including, well, no, it's not including Nick Camacho. We're still working on that. And of course, all our bios are old and need to be updated. But just don't go there. Just don't even click on that. We have the APG library for those of you who know how to read. Coffee fund information, APG store, we just talked about that. Contact us, and of course the APG community calendar. So it's all there. And if you want to look up something in particular, an episode number or whatever, you can always use a little search function, a little magnifying glass. And I don't know if I don't think it shows up on the phone version of the website. But anyway, there you go. There's the airlinepilotguide.com website. And we're also on social media. And who wants to take a stab at social media? You want to do it, Rick?
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right.
All right. So just leave your excellent feedback at feedback@airlinepilotguide.com. That comes over to us. We look it over. We talk about it. We laugh at it. No, I'm just kidding.
We say disparaging things about you.
We put our heads together and come up with the best possible answer to give to you. Also, Facebook page, Airline Pilot Guy. Everything Airline Pilot Guy related on Facebook is on there. And obviously at APG Crew on Twitter for everything APG related on the Twitterverse, as well as APG Crew on Instagram. That goes for the Instagram platform, another great platform. So that's the social meds. And Lucy.
Oh, yeah. That's the old social meds. And of course, we are also on a quasi social med kind of thing. Slack. We have a Slack team, APG Slack team, headed up by Hillel. He manages it, and he started the whole. Hang on. Oh, I hear. Hey, Hillel. Hillel, tell us about Slack. I know. We're always ready for you, though. We got I laid out a bunch of towels between the bathroom and over here in front of the equipment. And I'm talking about audio equipment, by the way. And here we go. Sit down here and tell us about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and plain tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
All right. Thanks, Hillel.
Where's the soap?
In the soap dish. Okay. Do really do appreciate Hillel and all the hard work he does managing that Slack group and all those Slackers there. And let's see. Also, we want to say a big thank you and round of applause to our producer, Liz, in Toronto.
Yay, Liz.
A place to stand and a place to grow.
Ontario.
Ontario.
My pleasure, guys.
Oh, it's always, you just don't know how much work that she puts in the background. We really do appreciate it. I especially. And finally, and thank you, Jim, for hanging out with us today. That was a lot of fun and coming up with the Osh design. And until next time, wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Talons, Douglas.
Take care. Be good to each other, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. See y'all next time.
Bye, everybody.
I think I got us all.
Yeah.
All right.
I like it.
I'm going to
turn off your recorder.
The recorder.
There you go. Done.
All right. Excellent. So did you all hear that? And Rick's microphone, I think it's a USB thing. I think that's what was happening with my using my thing as an interface in the last couple of shows. It's same kind of crackling, weird noise. Yeah. I don't know why it's YouTube is doing that lately, but it seems to be related to YouTube-ish. I mean, USB-ish things.
Yeah.
Yeah, Universal Serial Bus. I think that's what it stands for, right? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know computers.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Do we have any suggestions from the
I only have
live
2.
audience? Okay. Go ahead, Liz.
I have, when we were talking about the guys landing on the wrong runway, don't be helpful or don't do any favors. That was what Rick was saying. And then I think that last one, Nick could really do it with, do we have the right plug with us?
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, we'll have to refer that to that feedback item.
I'll tell him where to have a look.
Okay, we'll tell him where to go. I know you do that all the time with me. Let's see. I like Neil here. They found out he wasn't a real pilot when he got to his hotel, and he didn't tell anyone in the bar that he was a pilot.
No, it was he wasn't complaining half the trip. That's what made him in.
Oh man. Any other suggestions from the Peanut Gallery? APG Guest Fest.
Skydiving from an F-14.
Sadly, we always kind of focus on the things that we covered last because that's what we remember pretty much. Well, anyway, if anybody has any
I'll send these over to Nick and he can figure it out.
Okay, and as usual, he'll just come up with some artwork and then we'll have to figure
freestyle.
out the title. Yeah.
Yeah.
Freestyle.
Okay, excellent. Well,
thanks everybody.
Yeah, thank you for hanging with us, folks. We're going to go ahead and
end the broadcast. It's great having Frank
broadcast
here, and it's great having Jim here. And
yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah, great. Thanks for including me.
All right,
absolutely.
Hang on, Jim. Hang on. We're going to end the broadcast and have a little post-show meeting. All right, everybody ready?
Yeah,
that's good.
Okay, let's do it.